Chapter 137. Dr. Fu, there's a heartbeat. The nurse pointed at the machine and said. Su Jiran was emotional. He held Bai Ya's hand and pressed it against his lips. Hot tears flowed down and fell on the back of Bai Ya's hand. Xiaoya, it's good that you're alive. It's good that you're alive. Su Jiran choked and said. He said this to himself. He looked at Bai Ya's pale face with infatuation. She was beautiful even when she was asleep. She was so beautiful, unique. Bai Ya was woken up by the burning pain on her wrist. She opened her eyes. Her eyes were as calm as still water. She saw the white ceiling. She smelled disinfectant. She knew very well where she was. She did not feel pain when she died. When she woke up, apart from heartache, there was also the pain on her wrist. The Buddha said, the mistakes made in the human world will be repaid here. Once they are repaid, they can achieve enlightenment. She had made too many mistakes in her previous life. So, she had not repaid in this life. Xiaoya, you're awake. Are you hungry? I'll get someone to buy you your favorite osmanthus cake and porridge. Remember to eat century egg porridge. Su Jiran said with a smile. Bai Ya looked at Su Jiran indifferently and was unusually calm. You shouldn't have sent me to the hospital. Su Jiran's eyes were a little red and filled with panic. He was afraid that she had made up her mind. The hospital could save people who were seriously ill, but they could not save people who wanted to die. Have you forgotten your child? Su Jiran asked, choking. The person I want to forget the most is myself. Bai Ya looked out of the window. It was dark. Nothing could be seen except darkness outside the window. Maybe your child is suffering now. Don't you want to save him? Su Jiran asked worriedly. There was no expression on Bai Ya's face. He was afraid that she didn't move at all, so he turned around and walked in front of Bai Ya. He moved a chair and sat in front of her bed. Xiaoya, I promise you that I will help you find your child. I don't need you to marry me. I just want you to be happy. I'm being sincere. If I force you again, I will die a horrible death. With your ability, Su Jiran, you still can't find him after such a long time. The child should be dead, right? Bai Ya said rationally. No, he's not dead yet. I already have a clue. When you gave birth to the child in K City, those people came prepared. It wasn't an accidental crime. I suspect that it has something to do with Gu Lingqing, Su Jiran said in a deep voice. He doesn't know about the child's existence, Bai Ya said. I found out that he was drugged by a terrorist organization. I escaped and happened to run into you who also escaped. So, I forced myself to have sex with you. You fainted, and so did he. When he fainted, the person who took him away was very important. The person who took him away knew about his relationship with you. Could it be that the person who took Gu Lingqing away has been watching you? Su Jiran guessed. Bai Ya looked down. Her long eyelashes covered her eyes. It turned out that Gu Lingqing was drugged. That was why he forced himself to have sex with her. Since that person saved Gu Lingqing, he will treat his son well. The mother's bad luck might be a good thing for the child, Bai Ya said lightly. Don't you want to see the child grow up? Su Jiran frowned. Bai Ya raised the corner of her mouth slightly. Her eyes fell on Su Jiran's face. There are many things that I can't do as I want. Gu Lingqing lost his memory. No one will know who the person who took him away is. Even if they know, do you think Gu Lingqing's parents will give the child to me? It's just stabbing another knife in the heart. She said it so calmly as if she was not talking about her own matters. I will help you. I will help you get the child back, Su Jiran said sincerely. I don't deserve a reward. You helped me, but what do you want to take from me? Bai Ya asked rationally. She did not trust Su Jiran at all. I don't need to take anything away. I love you, Bai Ya. I really love you. Su Jiran choked. Go out. I want to rest for a while. Baya closed her eyes. She looked distant. Su Jiran did not dare to leave. He was afraid that if he left, Baya would do something stupid. He made a call and asked someone to buy osmanthus cake and century egg porridge. Baya did not eat. He called Lu Shuang. He hoped that Lu Shuang could persuade Baya. When Lu Shuang heard the news of Baya's suicide, he rushed to the hospital. He saw Baya lying on the hospital bed. Baya's left wrist was wrapped in gauze, and her right hand was dripping with water. Lu Shuang's eyes turned red in an instant, and tears flowed out. Little Bai, why did you do this? What should I do if you die? Lu Shuang walked in crying. Baya opened her eyes and looked at Lu Shuang. Her eyes were much softer. If there was anything in this world that she could miss, it would be Lu Shuang. I'm sorry, Baya said softly. Lu Shuang lay on the bed and cried loudly. Su Jiran left the room, but he did not dare to leave. He leaned against the wall. It was the 12th call from Xin Jinyan. He did not want to answer it, so he hung up. Little Bai, you can't leave me like this, Lu Shuang begged. You're my best friend. Baya stared at Lu Shuang and wiped his tears. Lu Shuang was still crying. He begged, don't do anything stupid in the future, okay? Baya did not say anything. Lu Shuang held Baya's cold hand. She did not say anything, which meant that she had not agreed. Little Bai, if you die, you'll have nothing. It's a dark world. There are no people, no light, no water, no friends. It's cold. Don't die, Lu Shuang said while crying. Baya looked at Lu Shuang with a deep gaze. You're not afraid of death, so why are you afraid of living? Little Bai, if you die, I'll be pitiful. You know, I'm usually a carefree person, but I'm too straightforward. No one wants to be friends with me. They all say that my EQ is too low and that it's stressful to interact with them. I only have you, Lu Shuang said, feeling more and more hurt. Heart. Baya's eyes turned red. She finally promised, okay, I won't die. Lu Shuang hugged Baya. Little Bai, whatever you want to do, I'll be with you. I won't let you feel lonely. It's my fault. I shouldn't have let you go to Jinyang City alone. I'll go wherever you go in the future. I want to go overseas, Baya said. Lu Shuang looked at Baya in surprise. Go overseas? Where? To find a direction in life, Baya said calmly. Lu Shuang was worried. Are you going to seek death overseas? The security overseas isn't good. Baya shook her head. I promised you that I won't seek death, so I won't. I'll do what I say. I'll go with you. Lu Shuang was worried. Chapter 138. It was said that time was the best medicine to forget the pain. How long did it take to forget the pain? How long did it take to forget a person? What path should she take in the future was the right one? How much work did a person have to go through to find the most suitable one for herself? She wanted to go abroad to study psychology. She knew that she was sick. She was suffering from a serious psychological illness. She couldn't rely on others. She wanted to rely on herself to save herself and redeem herself. Going abroad required a huge sum of money, and not everyone could enter the school. Psychology in the United States was much more advanced than in a country. This advanced country was 20 years earlier than a country. Psychological clinics were spread all over the country. They treated psychology as if they were taking medicine for a cold. After she was discharged from the hospital, she called Mu Xiaosheng and told him that she wanted to go abroad and study at the best psychology school in the United States. She hoped that Director Mu could arrange it. After she finished her studies, she would enter Mu Xiaosheng's Psychology Research Institute to work. Mu Xiaosheng was very generous and agreed immediately. Beginning of the year, Baiya went through the resignation procedures and entered Mu Xiaosheng's research institute. She was good at studying, so it was easy for her to pass IELTS. 3rd of March. She went through all the procedures and flew to the United States. Mu Xiaosheng, Lu Shuang, and Su Jiran saw her off. Did you leave your phone number? My alumni association will receive you when you get there. They will arrange accommodation and school for you. Americans are very open. They like girls in a country very much. Mu Xiaosheng reminded her meaningfully. Baiya smiled. Are you afraid that I won't come if I find a husband over there? Don't worry, I have signed the contract. I will work for you for 5 years. I will come back. Xiao Bai, remember to video call me every week. I can rest for a month and I will go to the United States to find you. You have to take good care of yourself. If someone pursues you, don't be stingy with the opportunity. Anyway, dating a few more won't get married. It doesn't matter, Lu Shuang said. You too. Hurry up and find a good man. Baiya said to Lu Shuang. She looked at Su Jiran. Su Jiran had a lot of things he wanted to say to Baiya, but they were all stuck in his throat. He, who had always been graceful and elegant, actually had times when he couldn't speak. He had never fallen in love with a woman, and now he knew what it was like to fall in love with someone. Su Jiran. Baiya spoke first, calling his name. From now on, you don't owe me anything. Lu Shuang turned to look at Su Jiran. She still didn't like Su Jiran. Perhaps what Su Jiran had done before was too disgusting. Su Jiran watched as Baiya walked into the waiting room. In the end, he couldn't say a word. However, he did something that made Lu Shuang gnash his teeth in anger. Su Jiran had already bought a ticket to America. He took the same flight as Baiya, and it was in the first class. He used the ticket in the first class to exchange for the seat next to Baiya and sat next to Baiya. Baiya looked at him in surprise. I have a villa in America. You can stay in my villa when you go there. If you like it, I can transfer the ownership to you, Su Jiran said softly. Baiya was very calm. Su Jiran, I don't hate you, and I don't blame you. But, it's impossible for me to fall in love with you again. Then, will you fall in love with Gu Lingqing again? Su Jiran frowned. I won't. Baiya said very rationally, maybe, I'm not smart enough, and I'm not rational enough, but I understand that if I fall in a place once, I'll fall in the same place again next time. Then, I'll move all the rocks and keep you safe, Su Jiran promised. Baiya smiled. Moving the rocks is your business, not falling is my business. I don't need to see the scenery that I've experienced again. The world is big. I want to see everywhere. Then, can we be friends? Can we be friends? Su Jiran took a step back. I don't think so. My future husband likes me to be friends with my ex-husband, Baiya said coldly. So, when you say that you don't hate me and don't blame me, you want me to completely disappear from your life? Then, you should hate me, Su Jiran said angrily. Baiya didn't say anything else. She leaned on the chair, put it down, and looked out of the window. If someone wanted to hurt her, she wouldn't be able to avoid being hurt just by saying no. However, she wasn't even afraid of death, so why would she be afraid of being hurt? The current Baiya was already invincible. Su Jiran couldn't do anything to her at all. Now, he really understood how Baiya felt about him back then. She loved him, but he ignored her. Baiya was probably as mad as he was. He couldn't even stand it for a minute. How did Baiya get through those 3 years? Baiya, I'll wait for you. 3 years, 10 years, 30 years. I'll wait for you, Su Jiran said. These were the last words he said after he sent her to America. Time flew by, and years passed by. It only took Baiya more than 3 years to obtain a Ph.D. in psychology. She was the most outstanding student in the eyes of her tutors. She was like a god in the eyes of the students. Her hypnosis skills had reached the peak. During her 3 years in America, she also helped the FBI solve 4 sensational cases. Among them, the space-time dismembered body case shocked the world. Baya's name suddenly became famous in the industry. The FBI sent her an invitation. The school also wanted her to stay. But she chose to return to China. Because she promised Mu Shaoxing to work for her for 5 years. On the day she returned to China, she didn't inform anyone. She got on the plane and bought a first-class seat. In addition to studying for 3 years, she would also work part-time in a clinic. The school gave her a lot of scholarships. After she became famous, she treated several rich people. She had 5.2 million yuan in savings. She didn't want to treat herself badly. The first-class seat was separated. In addition to lying down, the space chair also had a massage function. The TV on the top was clear. The private room was shockproof and soundproof. The flight attendants were very considerate. Baya elegantly cut the steak, enjoyed the red wine, and listened to the piano music in the moonlight. She was 28 this year. She had been married, divorced, and experienced 2 relationships. Now, she was alone. Suddenly, the flight attendant's emergency call came from the TV. Calagiant, emergency call, we need a doctor who specializes in obstetrics and gynecology. A woman is about to give birth. Baya put down her knife and fork. She hadn't touched a scalpel for 4 years. She was a little worried that she wasn't up to it. She went to see if there was a doctor first. She pushed open the door of the private room. A pregnant woman in the first-class carriage was lying on the ground. She held Gu Lingqing's hand tightly. Her water had broken, and she looked very painful. Xiao Shui, don't be afraid. There will be a doctor. Gu Lingqing comforted her. Chapter 139. When they met again, it felt like a lifetime had passed. The air stewardess continued broadcasting, but no doctor came over. The pregnant woman became more and more nervous. Baya squatted in front of the pregnant woman and asked, "Do you remember when was the last time you had an operation?" Gu Lingqing looked at Baya, and there was a flash of surprise in his deep eyes. "It's you." Baya looked at Gu Lingqing. "4 years ago, I was an obstetrician in a city's hospital. Don't worry, I'll ensure the safety of her and the child in her belly." Baya said that mainly to the pregnant woman. Only by calming her down could the delivery be smoother. As expected, the pregnant woman's emotions were calmed down. "I did an ultrasound a week ago. The baby is fine, and the position is right. There is no umbilical cord around the neck. The doctor suggested a natural delivery," Xiao Shui said. "Is this your first or second delivery?" Baya asked calmly. "This is my sister's first delivery. Her husband is an American and he's on a business trip, so I brought her back to China," Gu Lingqing explained. Baya looked at Gu Lingqing plainly. She remembered that he didn't have a sister. A cousin. The water broke. According to the person's physique and situation, the pain and delivery time are different. It's normal to give birth within 24 hours. "Please put her on the bed," Baya said according to her memory. Gu Lingqing carried the girl and put her on the space chair. The space chair was almost flat. "Now, please get 2 air stewardesses in. You don't have to trouble yourself here. If you want to rest, you can go to C1. "That's my original seat," Baya said coldly. Gu Lingqing looked at her and turned to leave. Soon, 2 air stewardesses from a country walked in. "Do you have any anti-inflammatory drugs, painkillers, or scalpels on the plane?" Baya asked the air stewardesses. "Yes, I'll get them now," one of the air stewardesses said and went to get what Baya wanted. "Get a clean and sterilized blanket and a basin. Also, there should be some chocolate on the plane." "Get me some," Baya said to the other air stewardess. Doctor, it hurts." The pregnant woman became emotional again. Baya sat next to her and said softly, "It's the first time you've encountered this kind of situation, so it's inevitable that you're nervous. In fact, you were lying in bed like this in the hospital. Your family will look after you. You can feel Xiao Bao's head trying to come out. Your family will go back and call the doctors and nurses, so don't be nervous." "Doctor, how long will it be? Will I faint?" "I've seen on TV that it's very painful to give birth," the pregnant woman said nervously with sweat on her forehead. "Giving birth is always painful. You have to face it with the right attitude. In fact, many people give birth at home in foreign countries. They will invite a doctor to their home, only one doctor. They will put in a bathtub of warm water and let the pregnant woman lie in it. The main purpose is to relieve some pain," Baya said softly. She had a smile on her face, which made people feel relaxed. The pregnant woman gradually relaxed. There's an interesting legend. It says that a Xiao Bao baby made his mother suffer for a long time, but this Xiao Bao baby was born with great strength and could even hold a pair of scissors. Many people say that the more the baby is loved by his mother, the more filial and successful he will be, Baya comforted her. "Really? Thank you, doctor. I feel much better." The pregnant woman calmed down. "Did you see if it's a boy or a girl?" Baya asked to distract her. "It's a boy." A sweet smile appeared on the pregnant woman's face. "I heard that mixed-race babies are very beautiful. Your baby must be very good-looking. I just don't know if he looks more like an American or a Chinese." "Who do you want him to look like?" Baya asked with a smile. "I want him to look like my brother." "My brother is very handsome," the girl said with a smile. "It's very possible that he looks like my uncle. After all, they have the same genes." "Doctor, you're so nice. You're the most patient doctor I've ever seen," the pregnant woman praised. The air stewardess came over and handed over the emergency box. There were scalpels, anti-inflammatory drugs, painkillers, and hemostatic drugs that Baya wanted in the box. Another air stewardess brought over a basin, a blanket, and a big bag of chocolates. Baya peeled a piece of chocolate and gave it to the pregnant woman. Giving birth is a physical activity, especially a natural birth. You need to replenish your energy. "Thank you, doctor." "Have you given birth before?" Baya smiled. "Yes, it was a natural birth. I didn't want to leave a record, so I gave birth in my rented apartment." "That's amazing." The pregnant woman admired Baya and fully trusted her. She took a bite of the chocolate. "I can't take it anymore, doctor. My stomach hurts. It hurts so much. I think something is coming out. Let me take a look." Baya cut the girl's pants and separated it. Blood flowed out. There was a black thing that looked like hair. "You're going to give birth. I'll help you." "Ah!" the pregnant woman screamed miserably. Even though there was a soundproof room, Gu Lingqing could still hear her. She was anxious. She frowned and waited outside the room. The baby was born smoothly. It was all out in half an hour. Baya cut off the umbilical cord, tied the baby up, and put it aside. The placenta came out. Baya carefully took care of the pregnant woman. The little boy was crying loudly. His hair was black and his skin was red. His facial features couldn't be seen clearly. His eyes were closed and his head was squeezed very long. It was slowly recovering. "Lie down and don't move. I'll go and help the baby first. Rest more. I'll come back later," Baya said gently. "Thank you, doctor," the pregnant woman said gratefully. Baya nodded indifferently. She held the baby and opened the door. Gu Lingqing was standing at the door and looking at her deeply. "Chief, please come and help me." "Put warm water in the basin," Baya said in a businesslike manner. Gu Lingqing put warm water in the basin. Baya tested the water temperature and put Xiao Bao's baby in the water. Xiao Bao's baby was originally crying. After putting it in the water, it didn't make a sound, as if it was in a deep sleep. Baya gently washed Xiao Bao's baby. You left the procuratorate later, right? Gu Lingqing asked. I asked about you. Baya picked up the baby and wrapped it up again. She didn't look at Gu Lingqing and said, there's more than one scenery in life. I want to see the whole world. You look good now. 3 years ago, you weren't in a good state. Gu Lingqing looked at her deeply. Baya smiled and didn't say anything. She turned around with the baby in her arms. Gu Lingqing held her arm. Chapter 140. Gu Lingqing felt abrupt and let go of her hand. She returned to her usual alienation, nobility, coldness, and indifference. There's one thing that I haven't figured out. I hope Ms. Bai can tell me. Gu Lingqing asked seriously. Baya smiled. I've read a book. It says that a person always has 3 regrets, 3 things to regret, and 3 things to be proud of. Just let it go. There's no need to cling to it. I have to go see your sister. She has just given birth, so I have to pay attention to her. Baya smiled. Baya turned around. Gu Lingqing looked at her cold back. Does your leaving the Jinyang Municipal Procuratorate have anything to do with me? Baya stopped and looked at him. Her eyes were calm, distant, and full of confidence and maturity. I'm only responsible for myself. It has nothing to do with others. Chief Gu, just let it go. Gu Lingqing's eyes darkened and sank into an unfathomable abyss. They became as dark as ink. Baya entered the private room and asked Snowy, who was lying on the bed. Are you going to feed him yourself or feed him with milk powder? I want to feed him myself. I don't know what's added to the milk powder now. The baby is still young and it will affect his development. Snowy said with certainty. Baya adjusted the space chair and let Snowy sit up slightly. She picked up Snowy's clothes and let Xiao Bao suck. Yeah, it hurts. Snowy said, but her heart was filled with a strange sweetness. Baya smiled. Her face was filled with gentleness. Have you heard about the first mouthful of milk? If Xiao Bao's first mouthful of milk is from a bottle, then he will soon get used to the bottle and the taste of the milk powder. I've heard about this. Thank you, doctor. Snowy said gratefully. Baya put the baby on the chair next to her. Xiao Bao's baby was asleep, his red tongue licking his red lips. He was very cute. Doctor, you should rest for a while. You're tired. Thank you so much. Lie down for a while. Lie down until you feel you can get out of bed and walk around. It's best if you don't lie down for more than 2 hours. There should be emergency sanitary pads on the plane. I'll get the stewardess to send them over later. As Xiao Bao had just left the amniotic fluid, he was not used to it and would cry and throw a tantrum. Don't feed him too much milk. His stomach is still very small. If you feed him too much, he will vomit milk. Vomiting milk can sometimes choke his organs. Eat less and eat more often. Just feed him 4 or 5 times a night. If he vomits milk, stand him up and pat him gently. If it cries, try not to pick it up immediately. It will form the baby's habits, Baya instructed according to the method in her memory. Yes, doctor, you are really a good person. If I hadn't met you on the plane, I don't know if the baby would be so lucky. Which obstetrics and gynecology department are you from? I will send you a thank you flag, Snowy said gratefully. Baya just smiled. Rest well. She opened the door and went out. Gu Lingqing was still standing at the door. Baya nodded indifferently and went back to her seat to rest. Brother, this doctor is really a good person. When you get off the plane, you must ask for her contact number. You must thank her on my behalf, Snowy begged. Yes. After Baya went back to her private room, she did not come out again. After a nap, the plane would arrive in City A in half an hour. She took the evening flight and arrived in City A at 7:30 in the morning. Baya took her toiletries and went to the washroom to wash up. She just finished washing up and came out with makeup. Gu Lingqing stood at the door of the washroom. Sorry, Baya said. Gu Lingqing did not go in. He said in a deep voice, I deliberately waited for you at the door. My sister said she wanted to thank you and asked me to get your number. It's nothing. I think any doctor would help. Don't worry too much, Baya said with a smile. The plane suddenly descended. The plane shook a little. Gu Lingqing held Baya's waist. The warmth of his warm palms passed through her clothes to her skin. Baya's back was stiff. She did not want to have such contact with him anymore. She walked forward quickly, swaying and swaying. The stewardess was gently greeting the passengers on the plane. The plane was about to arrive in City A and asked everyone not to walk around casually. Brother, did you get her phone number? Snowy asked. Gu Lingqing shook his head, his eyes deep. Help me get it. I like her very much. If there is a baby problem in the future, I can ask her. Brother, please, you are my dearest brother, Snowy said coquettishly. I've met her a few times before. I can find someone to inquire about her. Gu Lingqing promised. Please, brother, you are my dearest brother. Asterisk the plane arrived in City A. Gu Lingqing watched Baya get off the plane with her luggage. She walked very quickly in the front. It rained in City A in early spring. The air in the morning was relatively good. Baya took a deep breath. She smelled the scent of her hometown. She went to the taxi area and queued for the bus. Because of the appearance of an important person, the road was blocked. Hence, the taxi came very slowly. The so-called important person, Baya did not need to think to know that it was Gu Lingqing. She queued patiently. She took out her phone and checked Lu Shuang's number. She smiled and dialed it. Xiao Bai, you called me so early. Lu Shuang was very happy to receive Baya's call. Guess where I am now? Baya asked with a smile. Lu Shuang was startled. Are you at the airport now? Why didn't you tell me? I will pick you up now. It's okay, I am going to see my mother now. It's so early. Work well, I will treat you to dinner tonight. Where are you staying today? Stay at my place. I am staying at the hotel. Ha, you don't even know how many days you stay in a week. See you tonight, Baya said with a smile. Gu Lingqing glanced at Baya and gave some orders to his men. His men ran to Baya and saluted. The chief said that he can give you a ride. Where are you going? I will send you back. Thank you for your kindness, but it's okay, Baya rejected him elegantly. You don't need this or that. Are you avoiding me and afraid of me? Gu Lingqing walked to Baya with a cold face. Because of his arrival, the atmosphere around them changed. It became oppressive and tense. Baya smiled. If she did not go, it would seem that she was really avoiding and afraid of him. She was not afraid of him, but she really wanted to avoid him. Because of her guilty conscience, it showed that it was not her. Then I will have to trouble the chief. Baya nodded. His soldier took her luggage and put it in the trunk of his car. When she got into his car, she realized that his sister was not there. Where is that lady? Baya asked casually. My men sent her to the hospital. I am going back to the military now, so I will give you a ride. Where are you going? Gu Lingqing asked indifferently, not even looking at her. Hyde Sanatorium. Thank you, Baya said politely. Chapter 141. If it was Baya in the past, she would definitely be so nervous that she would be incoherent. Under Gu Lingqing's pressure, she had nowhere to hide from his scrutiny. But now, she was calm. Baya smiled and asked, does this idea confuse you? Gu Lingqing's eyes paused for a moment, looking at every change in Baya's expression. But no. Her smile was like a flower, and she was calm. Is this true? Gu Lingqing asked, and his eyes became deep. The past is like the wind. Why do you care about it? Whether we have loved each other or not, it means nothing to us now. Maybe it's just my simple lovesickness. As time goes by, any impetuous thoughts and hopes will stay in the impetuous past, Baya said in a seemingly joking manner. Don't beat around the bush. I want to know, have you ever been in a relationship? Gu Lingqing became serious, upright, cold, and fierce. Baya paused for 3 seconds, and replied clearly, simply, and clearly, no. Is it interesting to talk so much nonsense without you? Or do you think that I have a lot of time to listen to you? Gu Lingqing looked at her and was inexplicably angry. Baya knew that she would make mistakes if she said too much and committed a psychological taboo. I'm sorry. In fact, she just wanted to hide it too much. She used her eloquence to cover up her guilt and freedom. Gu Lingqing looked out of the window. The rain was beating on the car window. Baya also looked out of the window. Neither of them spoke. The atmosphere in the car became heavy, full of low pressure, which made people feel uncomfortable, just like the heavy rain outside. Fortunately, they finally arrived at the entrance of the sanatorium. Baya got out of the car. Gu Lingqing's men helped her to take down her luggage and gave her an umbrella. Baya did not refuse anymore. She nodded and pulled the luggage in. Gu Lingqing kept staring at her in the rearview mirror. He only withdrew his gaze when she disappeared from his sight. His face was dark and unfathomable. Baya signed it and met with the chief doctor first to understand the situation. Then, he went to see Bai Bing. 3 years ago, Bai Bing would still talk to her pillow and smile from time to time, but she would not recognize anyone. Now, she was still hugging the pillow. Her eyes were empty, blurry, and unfocused as she looked at the air. There was no expression at all. She was already lifeless. The chief doctor said that she had lost control of her bowels and urine. She spent most of her time lying on the bed, occasionally sitting up. Su Jieran found 2 caretakers to take care of her. Therefore, although he was completely abnormal, his body was still clean. Baya sat in front of Bai Bing. Bai Bing's eyes didn't move at all, as if she hadn't seen anyone. Mom, I'm Baya, Baya said gently. Bai Bing did not respond. How is Xing Bachuan recently? Baya asked again. Bai Bing slowly looked at Baya. The corners of Baya's mouth twitched, and her eyes were a little red. In Bai Bing's heart, there was only Xing Bachuan. This daughter of hers was dispensable, right? He's very good. We even danced together yesterday, Bai Bing said seriously. What music was that? Baya said in a relaxed tone. Her fingers gently tapped on the table, making a regular tapping sound. It was the Red Danube River. It was evening, and the setting sun had dyed half the sky red. He reached out and put his arm around my waist. His steps were very light and slow. Shake and shake, shake and shake. A long-lost smile appeared on Bai Bing's face. Oh, I saw you too. You're so beautiful, and you two are so loving. He gave you a box. Open it and see what's inside, Baya asked and retracted her hand. It's a diamond. He proposed to me. He finally proposed to me. I'm so happy, Bai Bing said excitedly and stood up. Baya also stood up and stood behind her. It's not just a diamond. There's another diamond. What's going on? What's going on? Bai Bing made a throwing gesture and jumped back in shock. He proposed to me twice, Bai Bing said in a daze. Twice? Have you ever divorced? Baya asked. Divorce? Bai Bing panicked. Her eyes were filled with fear and her expression was ferocious. She covered her head and muttered, that's a whore. B*TCH. She stole my man. I'm going to kill you. Bai Bing looked at Baya fiercely and reached out to strangle Baya's neck. Baya was very calm. You won in the end. Xing Bachuan proposed to you again. Bai Bing paused. Yeah, he proposed to me again. He divorced that B***tch. She looked at Baya in confusion. Who are you? Baya smiled. Mom, I'm back. I'm Xiaoya. Xiaoya. You're Xiaoya. Where have you been? I haven't seen you for a long, long time. Bai Bing held Baya's shoulder. She was a little strong, and Baya was a little hurt. Mom, you have me in the future. We'll get better. I'm confident that Dad will return to your side. Really? Your dad will still want me? Bai Bing held her face and asked in surprise and doubt. Don't forget that you're the most beautiful woman in the world. He broke up with his family to marry you. As long as you take care of yourself, you'll still be the most beautiful woman, Baya said with a smile. Yes, yes. I want to take a shower. I want to wash my hair. I want to put on makeup. Bai Bing was so happy that she cried. Baya sat down and tapped on the table. Do you need me to help you? No, Mom isn't a child. I can do it. Bai Bing took her own clothes and walked into the bathroom. Baya gently raised the corner of her mouth. She walked to the window and looked at the rain that had not stopped. Her eyes were clear. The doctors and nurses outside were stunned. For the past year, Bai Bing had not said a word. She could no longer take care of herself, but now she could find her own clothes to take a shower. Was this the power of family? When Bai Bing came out of the bathroom, Baya dried her hair and patiently put on makeup. She took a photo of Bai Bing with her phone that had a beautifying function. Bai Bing was also satisfied. Send it to your dad. Don't worry. Baya kept her phone and held Bai Bing's hand. Mom, I don't think you're in the best state right now. We have to hit the target in one shot. Otherwise, I'm afraid it won't have the desired effect. What should I do? Bai Bing asked Baya. Fitness, diet, reading, be your best self for a year. Leave the rest to me. Okay, you have to help me, Bai Bing begged. Baya's eyes were deep. I will definitely help you. Bai Bing talked a lot. She talked about her past. Her mind was clear. Baya listened patiently. Bai Bing was tired. She went to bed and made the bed herself. Baya walked out of Bai Bing's room. Chapter 142. Oh. Baya chuckled. It seems that I don't want to hear your important things. Mu Xiaoxing paused. Baya smiled more brightly and looked at the elevator. I'm just kidding. I promised to work for you for 5 years. There's no reason not to work. You seem to have become naughty. I'm happy for you. Mu Xiaoxing softened his tone. Baya did not speak and pressed the button for the elevator to go down. I was worried before. I heard that the university kept you as a professor, and the FBI also extended an olive branch to you. The cases you solved in the United States were very sensational. I thought you wouldn't come back, Mu Xiaoxing said with a sigh. I will definitely do what I promised you, but I also want to discuss with you. Here's the thing. I will work for you, and you can give me tasks, but I won't work. I want to open a psychological clinic. Is that okay? Baya's tone was not aggressive. Of course. I didn't sponsor you much. I didn't expect you to be so outstanding. I am very satisfied that you can come back to help me. Mu Xiaoxing was easy to talk to. Thank you. Now let's talk about the things on your side. Let me see what I can do. Baya asked. This matter involves a senior official, so the police are looking for my resources. If I can't solve this case, it will be more troublesome. Mu Xiaoxing said. Tell me in detail. I have time from now until evening. Let me treat you to dinner today. Baya said calmly. Mu Xiaoxing found that the current Baya had changed a lot from 3 years ago. 3 years ago, she had been gloomy, dispirited, bored, and hopeless. But now, she was full of the charm of an intellectual woman. She could talk and laugh moderately. She was more charming than 3 years ago. He sent Baya to stay in the International Hotel in a city and had dinner in the hotel restaurant. Do you want the company to arrange accommodation for you? Mu Shaoxing asked with concern. No need. I will buy a house when I am free. Let's talk about the things on your side. Baya took out a notebook and a pen from her bag. She took a sip of lemonade and waited for him to speak. The victim's name is Angie. She is 53 years old. Her younger brother was general and of the Ministry of National Defense. Her husband was Song Jianren. He was 54 years old this year and was the Deputy Minister of the Ministry of Finance. On the day of the incident, a few people were playing mahjong in her house. Xiong Dani is also playing mahjong. Xiong Dani's uncle is Su Zheng, the Vice Director of the Commission for Discipline Inspection. Her son is Su Jiran, the CEO of a large corporation. He has a powerful political background and is not to be trifled with. At that time, Xiong Dani was sitting on the east side, and Angie was sitting in her favorite seat. Sitting in the southern seat was Chang Ruyan, the wife of the governor of a state. Sitting in the north seat is Mao Yu, the daughter of Angie's classmate. She is currently working in the finance department of the Ministry of Finance. Angie introduced her to her brother's son. In other words, she is the future daughter-in-law of the Minister of Defense, Mu Shaoxing explained. Baya expressionlessly wrote down the identity and position of these people, as well as where they were sitting. She didn't expect that after 3 years, they would meet in such a way. Besides these people playing mahjong, who else was in the room? And how did Angie die? Baya asked coldly. There were 2 nannies, a housekeeper, and 2 bodyguards. Among them, Song Jianren's sister, Song Shiyu, was here. Baya was stunned. Song Jianren is Song Shiyu's younger brother. Baya was surprised. She didn't know much about Gu Lingqing's family. Yes, Song Shiyu's husband is Gu Tianhang, the vice director of the military commission. Song Shiyu's son, Gu Lingqing, is the leader of the special military region, the youngest general, and the most popular presidential candidate. All of them are people with prominent backgrounds. This morning, Angie's brother, General N, gave the order to solve the case within a week. The police found me and I studied the case. It's a big deal, so I didn't dare to do it easily. So I came to discuss it with my brother, but he didn't dare to take it, Mu Shaoxing explained. The people involved are either rich or powerful. If there is any mistake, you may be killed. You shouldn't take this job. Baya judged rationally. Mu Shaoxing sighed helplessly. I am the director of the research institute. The police gave the highest order. I have to take it. I can't refuse it. My brother can refuse it because it's a personal invitation. The research institute can't refuse it. I can only tell you that I will take it because I promised to give you a job. But maybe some people don't want me to take it. You should be prepared. Baya reminded him. Why? Mu Shaoxing was puzzled. As soon as he asked this question, Baya knew that he actually knew nothing about her. Xiong Dani is my ex-husband's mother. Chang Ruyan is my stepmother. Song Shiyu. I have some unpleasant experiences with her. Do you think they will cooperate with me? I can only say that I will do my best. Mu Shaoxing was speechless. You are Su Jiran's ex-wife. It is said that there is a woman in Su Jiran's heart who changed his life. For this woman, he changed his previous lifestyle. In the past, he didn't reject anyone. Now, he doesn't touch women. Is the woman he loves you? Mu Shaoxing was shocked. Baya remembered what Su Jiran said 3 years ago. No matter if it was 3 years, 10 years, or 30 years, I will wait for you. Her eyes darkened. Time is a good thing. It can dilute feelings, but it can't heal wounds. I fell on a man once, and I won't fall again. You deserve better. Mu Xiaoxing said with a smile. He had feelings for Baiya, especially when Baiya came to him. He always fantasized that he could have some romantic feelings with Baiya. After all, he was elegant, had identity, status, looks, and knowledge. However, he only had sincere appreciation and admiration for Baiya now. He didn't dare to have any improper thoughts. I will continue to talk about the case. There are a few special things about this case. At 10:30 p.m., there was a power outage. The housekeeper took one of the housekeepers to get a candle. One of the security guards went to check the cause of the power outage. Xiong Dani took out a mobile phone from her bag to light up the light. Angie fell down. How long was the interval between the power outage and the light? What was the cause of death? Baiya interrupted Mu Xiaoxing's words. This is what I want to talk about. It is suspenseful and unbelievable. There was about 10 seconds between the power outage and Xiong Dani took out the mobile phone to light up the light. The cause of Angie's death was the silver needle that was stained with the poison of the dart poison would inserted into her temple. The problem is, how did she find the temple so accurately in a dark environment? It is worth mentioning that everyone sat in their seats and didn't move. Chapter 143. Do you have a clue now? Baiya asked and closed the notebook. The waiter served the food. If I had a clue, would I come to ask my senior brother for help? I'm confused now. The key is that Angie's brother also limited the date. How can we solve the case? Mu Xiaoxing said helplessly. Baiya smiled. We'll cross the bridge when we get to it. Can we go to the victim's house after dinner? It's routine. It should be okay. I'll call the director later. The director is under more pressure than me. Mr. Song should not be at home at this time in the afternoon. It's easier if he's not at home, Mu Xiaoxing said. Why is it easier if he's not at home? Baiya asked casually. Who would be willing to have other people look around and rummage around in their own home? I thought it was difficult for you to deal with his character. Baiya suddenly thought of the pregnant girl. Does Angie have a child? Yes, a boy. He used to be in the military of Guilingqing. He was a lieutenant colonel. This time his mother had an accident, so he should come back. Mu Xiaoxing said. Baiya nodded. She didn't ask too much about Guilingqing's family members. After all, it had nothing to do with her. After dinner they came out of the hotel. The rain was still pitter-pattering, and there was no sign of it stopping. The director of the police station specially sent 3 of the most capable policemen to go with Baiya and Mu Xiaoxing. When they arrived, Baiya found that Angie's family, Gu Lingqing, Su Jiran, and Su Zheng all lived in the same villa area. She got out of the car. Although she had an umbrella, the rain was too heavy and she was still wet. Entering the villa, it was not the door to the inner room, but a well-designed entrance. There were many disposable shoe covers on the entrance, and there was a special place for umbrellas. The design is very good. Was it designed by a design company? Baiya asked. It was designed by Mr. Song. The housekeeper replied respectfully. Baiya looked at Mu Xiaoxing. Mu Xiaoxing smiled. Mr. Song is a very meticulous man. He's very observant, meticulous, cultured, and elegant. He seems to be tolerant, but he also pursues perfection. His EQ is very high, and he's in a high position. Such a man should be very popular among girls, Baiya judged. Miss, your judgment is completely correct. Mr. Song is indeed as you said, the nanny said in surprise. You are simply too amazing. I can only judge that he is attentive, but you can judge so much. How did you do it? Mu Xiaoxing said in admiration. From the design of the entryway and the psychology of women. Baiya put on the shoe covers. The nurse opened the door. Gu Lingqing was also there. He sat on the sofa with a cigarette between his fingers. Amidst the fog, he looked at her. His expression was a little unclear. Behind him stood two uniformed soldiers. Sitting opposite Gu Lingqing was a young man. He bore a striking resemblance to Gu Lingqing. Baiya judged that the young man should be Angie's son. The nanny walked to Gu Lingqing's side, nodded respectfully, and reported, young master, people from the police station are here." Song Yi looked at Baiya with red eyes. "Please find the murderer as soon as possible." Baiya didn't speak. Mu Shaoxing smiled and said, "I will do my best." He was slightly stunned when he saw Gu Lingqing. "Young master, wasn't he the chief of the special military region, the popular presidential candidate, and the legendary figure Gu Lingqing?" Gu Lingqing's appearance, temperament, and demeanor were very recognizable. Even if it was a glimpse 3 years ago, he could still remember it. Now, he understood why Baiya said that she had some disagreements with Song Shiyu. Gu Lingqing was Song Shiyu's son. Was it possible that Baiya and Gu Lingqing had some relationship? Mu Shaoxing was shocked and turned to look at Baiya. Baiya was so calm that it made people's hair stand on end. She asked Song Yi in a businesslike manner, "May I have a look around?" "Yes, Bao Ma, show this policeman around," Song Yi ordered. Baiya walked to the area where the deceased died. The mahjong table was in the southernmost area of the living room. The one in the east is Xiong Daini, the one in the west is Anji, the one in the south is Chang Rian, and the one in the north is Mu Yu. Did Anji have a silver needle in her left temple or right temple? Baiya looked at the mahjong table and asked. "Left," Gu Lingqing said in a low voice. Baiya turned her head. Gu Lingqing stood beside her and looked at her deeply. Because he was too close. She could clearly see her reflection in his eyes. "Hai Lan, I miss you so much." This sentence flashed in Baiya's mind, and her heart was hit fiercely. She retracted her gaze and walked to Mu Shaoxing, who was still standing 2 meters away. It was only 10 seconds from the blackout to the death of the deceased. Almost no one moved. According to this logic, the only possibility is Mao Yu. It's very difficult to insert a silver needle with one hand. Moreover, it's the temple, and it's in the dark. I don't think it's her. Haven't you seen her? She's soft and thin. She cut her wrist with her right hand. I'm afraid she doesn't have the strength to do it. Mu Shaoxing explained. Gu Lingqing's gaze fell on Baiya's wrist. There was a scar on her arm. It had been some time. The scar turned white, but it didn't disappear, so it was clearly visible. When Baiya heard the words, "cut her wrist," was cold and painful. "Let's go to the room and have a look." Bao Ma pushed the door of the corridor and said respectfully, "This is Madam's room." Baiya walked in. There was a bed of 1.8 meters by 1.8 meters. There was a pillow on the bed, and the quilt was neatly folded. Next to the bed was a bedside table and a dressing table. There was a lot of cosmetics on the dressing table. Baiya picked up a few of them, glanced at them, and put them down. She opened Angie's wardrobe. After looking around, her gaze fell on a few boxes of slimming belts. She casually flipped through them and slightly raised the corner of her mouth. She opened the drawer of the bedside table. There were a lot of things in the drawer. Cold medicine, 3 photos, wound ointment, romance novels, socks, and slimming pills. She took out the photos. One of them was taken in Bali last summer. She had a bright smile, was a little fat, and made a V-shaped gesture. The other was a photo of her son participating in the military parade. Under the sun, the young man in a military uniform was very handsome. He raised his smile, and there were 2 tiger teeth. The other photo was an old photo. A tall and strong man hugged the young girl. She was slender, and her smile was sweet. The flowers and plants were beautiful. "If you find anything, can you tell me?" Gu Lingqing said. "My superior should report to you," Baiya said lightly. Gu Lingqing walked behind her. His aura was too strong. Her back was tense. Chapter 144. 3.5 years can change a lot of things, such as work, relationships, and living environment, Baya said calmly. She walked away and kept a safe distance from him. Gu Lingqing held her hand. He pulled her in front of him with great strength. Baya didn't expect him to do that. She fell into his hard embrace. The familiar scent came to her. Baya was flustered, so she was furious. She pulled her hand out and slapped Gu Lingqing's face. It was a loud slap. 3 red fingerprints appeared on his face. Gu Lingqing narrowed his eyes and looked at her coldly. Baya knew that she had gone overboard, so she looked down. Are you afraid of me? Gu Lingqing looked at her and observed the reaction on her face. Baya looked at him. Some abnormal behaviors are related to the person's experience. I was raped before, so I really don't like it when people touch me and force me. If I offended Chief Gu, please forgive me. Gu Lingqing's eyes darkened. The scars that ordinary women would try their best to hide, but she could so easily show them. Either she had let it go, or she was deliberately discrediting herself in front of him. Baya nodded, turned around and went out. She said to Bao Ma, please bring me to Mr. Song's room. Okay, this way please. Bao Ma went upstairs. Baya looked back at Mu Shaosheng. She was a little annoyed. She lowered her voice and said, follow closely. You are here to solve the case, not to stand aside and be a decoration. Mu Shaosheng touched his nose. He saw that Gu Lingqing had gone in. He must give them some space. He didn't dare to go in. Bao Ma pushed the door open. The room was spotless and emitted a faint fragrance. There was a desk, and the books on the desk were neatly arranged. There were 3 treasures of the study on the desk, a painting tube, and many white scrolls. Baya took it out and looked at it casually. There were ink paintings, calligraphy, and poems written by Song Jianren. It was very particular. There was a seal on the lower right corner. The name on the seal was Mr. Renmu. Above the big bed hung a wedding photo of Mr. Song and Angie. Baya opened the bedside table. The cupboard was empty except for a bottle of cologne. There was nothing in it. Baya also opened her wardrobe. Mr. Song was a very particular person. Suits and shirts, winter and summer, were all clearly distinguished, meticulously. Bao Ma, can I ask you some regular questions? Baya asked politely. Bao Ma was afraid of saying the wrong thing, but she did not dare to not answer the police's questions. She was trembling with fear. What do you want to ask? Bao Ma asked softly. Let's find a quiet place to sit for a while. You don't have to be nervous. Just talk casually, Baya said with a smile. Bao Ma nodded, then let's go to the reception room on the 2nd floor. Bao Ma was walking in front. Baya turned her head and said to the people at the police station, call young Master Song along. I'll ask them together. Yes. Bao Ma pushed open the door to the reception room. There was a fruit plate on the coffee table, an ashtray, fresh fruit in the fruit plate, and a goblet with cigarettes in it. Baya sat down on the sofa and took out a notebook and pen from her bag. Song Yi came in, and so did Gu Lingqing. As soon as he came in, the atmosphere in the reception room became heavy. This man had the ability to change the atmosphere. Baya looked at Gu Lingqing's eyes. He looked at her deeply, his gaze as dark as ink. She did not like his gaze. It was like a beast hibernating in the dark. It was too focused, too strong, and full of aggressiveness. How is your father and mother's relationship? Mu Shaosheng asked Song Yi first. My father is a man who takes good care of his family. He is very considerate to my mother. Many people envy my mother for marrying such a good husband. My mother is very kind, optimistic, and straightforward. People around her like my mother very much. Song Yi was sure. My mother is very kind, optimistic, kind-hearted and straightforward. Song Yi said with certainty. How often do you go home? Baya asked Song Yi. The military rules are stricter. I can only come out for half a day every Sunday. I spend more time with my brothers, Song Yi replied to Baya. So you don't go home often, right? When was the last time you went home? Baya asked. A month ago. A month ago, my mother injured her leg. My father even specially took a leave to accompany my mother. They are a very standard model couple, Song Yi said sincerely. Baya looked at Bao Ma. Bao Ma lowered her head, twisting her apron, very nervous. I believe that Mrs. Song is a very good person. She is warm-hearted and carefree. She has never treated you as an outsider. You also want to help her find the murderer, right? Her spirit in heaven will thank you, Baya said softly to Bao Ma. Mrs. Song is indeed very good. She is never harsh to the servants. Last time, my family was in urgent need of money. Mrs. Song gave me 20,000 without a second thought. Who killed our Mrs. Song? Bao Ma was a little emotional, her eyes red. Has Mrs. Song been behaving strangely recently? For example, would she shut herself in her room for a long time? Baya asked. Ever since Mrs. Song was discharged from the hospital after the fall, she has been in a bad mood, Bao Ma replied. Before the fall, was she in a good mood? Was she in a good mood to the point where she would buy cosmetics, put on makeup, lose weight, buy pretty clothes, do facial treatments, and learn to dance? Baya asked. Bao Ma was very surprised. How did you know? Baya already knew. She smiled. How many times does Mr. Song come home a week? Bao Ma's face was pale as she looked at Song Yi. What do you mean? My father comes home every day, no matter how late he works. Song Yi frowned. A month ago, Mr. Song came home 2 to 3 times a week. Recently, he came home every day. However, he is not in a good mood, right? Baya followed up with a question. Bao Ma was even more surprised. How did you know? Song Yi stared straight at Baya. His eyes widened. What do you mean by this? What are you hinting at? Baya smiled and looked at Song Yi calmly. It's nothing. I'm just asking. We've troubled you today. It's time for us to leave. Baya stood up. Song Yi followed closely and said anxiously, Speak clearly. Your father and mother love you very, very much. That's all you need to know. Baya walked towards the door. Sit down. Tell me in detail. Tell me what you think, Gu Lingqing said in a low voice. Baya did not turn around. You know, if I make a call, the chief might bring you to my military base for a discussion. I don't want to be that troublesome. Baya turned around to look at Gu Lingqing. She felt that Gu Lingqing was really domineering at times. He was so domineering that people could not resist at all. Chapter 145. I have a fiancé, Gu Lingqing said in a deep voice. His expression was hard to read. Baya's heart skipped a beat. Unexpectedly, it still hurt. Gu Lingqing and Su Shaoling had been engaged for more than 3 years, but they still hadn't gotten married. Did he still miss Zhou Hailan? Baya lowered her eyes and sat down on the sofa. He could tell her directly that he was engaged, which meant that he also wanted to keep a distance from her. There was no need for her to reject him because of her guilty conscience. What I'm about to say is just a judgment. If I'm wrong, please forgive me. Baya greeted him first. Just say it. Hurry up. Song Yi was rather impulsive. He furrowed his brows and stared at Baya. On the surface, your mother appears to be carefree and careless. She doesn't pay attention to details and is too casual. In fact, she's sensitive, but she covers it with optimism and cheerfulness. She's kind, gentle, and considerate, like a young girl, Baya judged. You're right. Go on. Song Yi urged. On the surface, your father is elegant, noble, gentle, and very cultured. He was born into a prestigious family, and his upbringing were excellent. He is talented, pays attention to details, meticulous, and pursues perfection. In reality, he is very harsh and very prideful. When he becomes fierce, it is as if he has become a different person. He tries his best to hide this unknown side of himself, Baya continued. Song Yi pursed his lips and was a little angry. The first half is right. But how did you judge the second half? I think you're talking nonsense. Your father prepared shoe covers at the entrance. The shoe cover box was placed in the most obvious position, facing the door. In fact, he doesn't like people coming to his house. But he's self-restrained and doesn't go too far. At most, what he doesn't see, he doesn't grieve. People who don't like people visiting them don't like to visit others either. They may be open-minded, but they're absolutely guarded against others. This kind of person is selfish, which contradicts your father's upbringing. So he represses it in his heart. Your mother, on the other hand, was carefree, enthusiastic, kind and generous, and liked to socialize with people. As a result, your father squeezed more and more of these things. These things can also be seen in your father's paintings. His painting realm was very high, so high that it was like a fantasy story. There was always something oppressive in his paintings, which made the whole picture not so harmonious. One of the paintings was a landscape painting. The landscape was surrounded by clouds and mist, making it look like a celestial realm. However, in the lower left corner of the painting, there were a few people. Although it was a few strokes, it was obvious what it was trying to express. A man in his prime went to seek immortality, but he was stopped by a few people. The painting reflects his state of mind, Baya analyzed. Don't tell me you think my father is the murderer. My father isn't at home at all. He's receiving the special envoy of the United States at this time, Song Yi said unhappily. Baya smiled faintly. Your father and mother haven't been married for at least 5 years, maybe even longer, maybe more than 10 years. Song Yi was young after all, so he blushed. They have a good relationship. Gu Lingqing looked at Baya deeply. His eyes were too dark, like a whirlpool that could swallow everything. Baya deliberately ignored his gaze and said, when your father was young, he fell in love with your mother's romantic, lively, and lovely youth. Your mother was also a beauty when she was young. After giving birth, a woman's figure would more or less change. Your father was a perfectionist. As the trifles of life, familiarity, and your mother's figure became more and more out of shape, they stopped being married. In the end, your father completely hated living with a fat, sloppy woman who liked to play mahjong. From his paintings and inscriptions, it can be seen that he came back 2 or 3 days a week. He came back only because of his responsibility and the influence of his perfectionism. Your mother was meticulous. When she found out that your father disliked her, she thought about losing weight. It was hard for her to lose weight. She dieted and exercised, but she couldn't overcome her age, appetite, and physique. She gave up. Until she found out that your father had another woman outside. This woman was as beautiful as a painting. Her waist was as thin as a willow. She was a lady from a respectable family. She talked elegantly and was knowledgeable. She liked history and was good at painting. Your mother was very sad, but she didn't tell anyone. She was happy in front of others, but sad in the back. She loved her husband very much. She tolerated everything and would never affect his career. She went jogging, to the gym, to swim, to change silently. Because of her bad mood, the gym, and the lack of appetite, she quickly lost weight. In the past year, she had attracted a man. The man was much younger than your mother, and the two of them had sex. This relationship was discovered by your father because of your mother's foot injury. Your father wanted to turn back, but your mother couldn't. Hurt, betrayal, favor, and love made her decide to divorce. Therefore, the murderer could be her husband, her husband's subordinates, her husband's other woman, her brother, and herself. Go check her bank account. You should be able to find her boyfriend. Maybe you can find some clues, Baya said. Song-yi stood up anxiously. Are you making up a story? Are you a novelist? How can you make up such a ridiculous story? This concerns a human life. You can't just slander and smear it. This can be deduced from your mother's cosmetics, accessories, and recent style. Also, this is just my guess. If you want to know the truth, you can ask your father or wait for the results of our investigation. Baya stood up. If you spout nonsense, I guarantee that you'll have to bear the consequences, Song-yi warned fiercely. Baya looked at Song-yi. She wasn't angry. She smiled and said, you and your mother have a very good relationship. You had a relationship that ended because of your father's interference. So, you actually love and hate your father. Song-yi looked at Baya in surprise. You investigated me? You're wearing a necklace with a simple, Li character on it. It should be a gift from your ex-girlfriend. You like her a lot. When I mentioned your mother, there was shock, heartache, and anger in your eyes. When I mentioned Song Jianren, besides hatred, there was disdain, disgust, and sneer in your eyes, Baya explained. Chapter 146. When Gu Lingqing asked her to go, she couldn't refuse. Psychology was mainly used to judge a person's psychology through their words and deeds, behavior, eyes, conversation, and expressions. This was very useful for ordinary people. However, some people were very shrewd and hid their emotions very well. They would not easily reveal their true thoughts. Even their expressions were controlled to the point of perfection, making others feel that they were either unfathomable or secretive. Gu Lingqing was such a person. 3 years ago, he might still have the impulsiveness and irrationality of a hot-blooded young man. After more than 3 years, he had matured, restrained, and was colder, more domineering, and stronger than before. Now, he was a real king. Baya followed Gu Lingqing to the study room on the first floor. Close the door, said Gu Lingqing as he sat on the sofa, typing a text message on his phone and sent it out. He placed his phone on the coffee table. Baya suddenly felt pressured. She sat opposite him and looked at Gu Lingqing, meeting his ink-black eyes. Gu Lingqing was examining her. Silence was better than words. Baya let him look at her without saying a word or showing any expression. She couldn't back down. At this time, whoever looked away first would be guilty. His gaze lasted for more than 10 minutes. It was so quiet that they could hear each other's breathing. Gu Lingqing's lips curved upwards. Detective Bai, don't you have anything to say? Leader Gu is a very calm and composed person. You know yourself very well. I don't have a direct relationship with you. You're not the investigator that I'm in charge of this case. If I analyze you and my analysis is wrong, you will feel that I'm not worthy of my title and despise me. If my analysis is correct and I expose the secret that you're hiding in your heart, you'll feel uncomfortable and alert. After thinking about it, you'll feel that it's dangerous and I might be killed. So, I think it's better for me to keep quiet. What do you think, Leader Gu? Baya asked. You're narrow-minded and overheard too much. No matter what you said, I'll forgive you and I won't hold you accountable, Gu Lingqing said in a low voice, leaning against the sofa in a lazy manner. From this posture, she could tell that he was very relaxed and was just chatting with her. It was indeed harmless. He was harmless, but that didn't mean she would spill everything. Baya smiled and said, isn't the bureau chief busy today? He has the leisure to do some boring things. A sharp look flashed across Gu Lingqing's eyes. He straightened his body and stared at her sharply. There was no joking expression on his face. Tell me now, if there's anything wrong with what you said just now, just based on the fact that you slandered my uncle and aunt, and caused psychological pressure and trauma to my cousin, just because of this, you'll be thrown into prison and can't get out for the rest of your life. Gu Lingqing's tone was commanding. There was no room for rejection. His face changed faster than flipping a book. Baya realized that what he said was true. Her face became serious and she didn't dare to be negligent. She said in a businesslike manner, "There is a very dark place in your heart." Gu Lingqing sneered. His expression was indecipherable, and no one could tell what he was thinking about. "Go on," Gu Lingqing said. "You have a missing memory." Baya lowered her eyes, and her long eyelashes covered the window of her heart. She didn't look at others, and she didn't want others to see her heart. "You're very confused about this memory, and you're very lost. In the past few years, you have been looking for the answer, but you found that someone was stopping you from looking for the answer, and it was your family who stopped you from looking for the answer. So, you are injured. When the injury gets worse, you will become numb," Baya continued. "Do you know why I asked you to show me?" Gu Lingqing looked at her with burning eyes. A bad feeling flashed through Baya's mind. Could it be that he wanted her to treat his illness? She looked at Gu Lingqing in shock. Gu Lingqing smiled. "I heard that you are a genius in the field of psychology and the top in the field of hypnosis. Seeing you today, you are indeed very capable. You guessed it right. I need you to treat my illness. I want to get my past memory back." Baya's eyes turned a little red. She said without thinking, "I refuse." Gu Lingqing stood up, pressed his hands on the side of her body, and stared at her coldly. The distance between them was only 20 centimeters. His aura was so strong that she almost couldn't breathe. "I'm afraid you can't refuse," Gu Lingqing said overbearingly. There was a trace of confusion in Baya's eyes. The current Gu Lingqing, the Gu Lingqing who had lost a memory, seemed to be very different from the previous Gu Lingqing who looked indifferent but was actually enthusiastic. Right now, he was truly cold and detached. Even the breath on her face was a little chilly. "Why can't I refuse?" Baya asked in return. Gu Lingqing lifted her chin and moved closer to her. "If you don't believe me, you can try." Baya understood. He was a presidential candidate. With his current power, a single word from him would be enough to make her die quietly. She didn't need to hit a rock with an egg. "I'll try, but I have to remind you, the people who don't want you to get your memory back the most are your parents. I'm afraid that even if they want to stop you, I can't do anything. I'll get someone to pick you up every week, and we won't have any superficial contact." "They won't know," Gu Lingqing promised. He stood up and looked down at her. "I'll send you back now." "No need, my colleagues will send me back." Baya refused. "They left a long time ago. It's raining so heavily now. This place isn't a place that any car can enter. Do you want to stay here?" Gu Lingqing asked in return. Baya also stood up and nodded respectfully at Gu Lingqing. "Thank you, Chief." Outside the door, the rain was still pouring, hitting the car with a pitter-patter. Baya kept looking out of the window. She looked calm, but in fact, her heart was like the rain, restless and upset. The driver stopped the car. "What's wrong?" Gu Lingqing asked. "Commander, there's a traffic jam ahead. Many cars are turning back. Maybe the water level is too high," Lieutenant Colonel Song reported. "Go to Blue Sky Garden and find someone to solve the problem in front," Gu Lingqing ordered. "Yes." Baya frowned. Chief, can you drop me off here? I'll walk there and take a taxi. It's raining so heavily, and the road ahead is flooded. There won't be any taxis here. According to the traffic jam, even buses won't be able to pass," Gu Lingqing said in a low voice without even looking at her. Baya was a little annoyed. She really didn't like people making decisions for her. "I can walk back." "Aren't you afraid of being washed away by the water?" Gu Lingqing said coldly. "I'm not that weak." Gu Lingqing glanced at her. "You talk a lot of nonsense. I said to go to Blue Sky Garden, so I'm going to Blue Sky Garden. I won't eat you, so what are you afraid of? When this road is settled, I'll naturally get someone to send you back." Chapter 147. Gu Lingqing had already put it this way. If she insisted, she would feel that she was questioning his character. He would probably be even angrier. She looked out of the window, still feeling restless. That kind of restlessness was the fear of the unknown and the uncertainty that exceeded her own judgment. Her phone rang. She took out her phone from her bag and quickly answered the call when she saw it was from Lu Shuang. Little Bai, where are you now? I skipped work and came out to pick you up. The rain is too heavy, Lu Shuang said righteously. Bai seemed to have received a timely rain and said, go to Lantian Gardens now. I'm there. Call me when you arrive at Lantian Gardens. Okay, moi, see you later. Lu Shuang hung up the phone in a hurry. Bai heaved a sigh of relief. Gu Lingqing was expressionless, his eyes dark and gloomy. He said to Lieutenant Colonel Song casually, this kind of heavy rain is very suitable for training the soldiers' will. Arrange for emergency training in 10 minutes. In addition, to ensure the safety of the soldiers, let everyone in the infirmary be on standby in the office. Baiya, she felt that Gu Lingqing did it on purpose. Is his hearing that good? Could it be that he eavesdropped on the conversation between her and Lu Shuang? It seemed that he knew about her relationship with Lu Shuang. She couldn't let Lu Shuang get into trouble. Don't rush the training, it's too dangerous, Baiya complained in a low voice. Gu Lingqing looked at Baiya, his eyes grim. Training the ability to resist danger now is to be able to survive in the future. Does Detective Bai want to get involved in the affairs of our army? Baiya couldn't say a word. Why is Gu Lingqing so two-faced now? She looked out of the window in a fit of pique. Not long after, Lu Shuang called. D*MN, that perverted chief wants the soldiers to undergo emergency training in such a heavy rain, and I still have to go there. Does he have any humanity? You're lucky that you didn't. Baiya's heart tightened. She didn't want Gu Lingqing to know about their past, so she interrupted, cool girl, there's no hurry. You go ahead with your work. Since I'm back, I'm not going to leave. We'll have time to meet up anytime. That's the only way. You don't know how strict Gu Lingqing is. I don't even dare to speak loudly in the military. I'll talk to you later. Lu Shuang hung up the phone helplessly. Before Baiya could put away her phone, Gu Lingqing turned around and placed one hand on the side of her body. He enveloped her in his aura and examined her with his dark eyes. You were lucky that you didn't follow me back then. What do you mean by this? With every word he said, his breath blew on her face. Baiya tried to calm himself down. Gu Lingqing had heard it. Her denial became a cover-up. She smiled. That's exactly what I meant. Gu Lingqing's eyes darkened. He looked at her and said slowly, have you slept with me? Baiya didn't expect him to ask this directly. She turned her face away and didn't let him see her eyes. Gu Lingqing understood and said calmly, it seems that you have slept with me. Baiya didn't know what to say. She was confused, so she closed her eyes and took a deep breath. Impulse was the devil. Psychology told her that when the brain couldn't think accurately and didn't know how to answer, she shouldn't lie because she was guilty. A lie could lead people to eternal damnation. Baiya looked at Gu Lingqing and met his deep eyes. There's nothing memorable about the chief's skills. Gu Lingqing frowned, held her chin and said sternly, what did you say? Fortunately, I didn't follow you. Isn't this sentence full of interesting meanings? Of course, if the chief is angry, I should change my words. The chief's skills are really amazing. Gu Lingqing's frown deepened. He felt uncomfortable when he saw her beaming with joy. He let go of her chin, sat upright, and looked ahead gloomily. Baiya rubbed her face. Gu Lingqing didn't say anything else. The atmosphere in the car was frozen at zero. She wouldn't deliberately talk to him and expose her guilty conscience. Being cautious was the secret to living a long life. Finally, they arrived at Blue Sky Courtyard. Lieutenant Colonel Song opened an umbrella and came over to support Gu Lingqing. Gu Lingqing looked at Baiya, his eyes were still cold. Support her. Yes. Lieutenant Colonel Song came over to support Baiya. Baiya saw that Gu Lingqing had already walked into the rain. The torrential rain was heavy, shrouding his surroundings in a layer of misty moisture. It was cold and noble. She thought of a saying, "You come from the sea when the city is in a storm." She felt a little warmth in her heart, and her eyes were a little moist. Even if he had lost his memory, even if he had become colder, even if he had changed a lot, some things were still in his bones. For example, she was familiar with Gu Lingqing, cold on the outside but warm on the inside. Baiya felt a little sad. She turned her face away, took a deep breath to calm herself down, and then followed Lieutenant Colonel Song to the door of his villa. Gu Lingqing went in first and put a few pairs of slippers at the door. The slippers were all for men, and the model was bigger. That meant that she might be the first woman to come here. Even if she wasn't, women rarely came to his place. Baiya looked down, put on the slippers, and went in. Gu Lingqing was pouring water. He didn't look at her, and asked indifferently, "Do you like coffee or juice?" "Water is fine," Baiya said. Gu Lingqing passed the water to Baiya. Baiya took it expressionlessly. "Tell me, how much do you charge for seeing a doctor here?" Gu Lingqing asked coldly, with a businesslike attitude. Baiya took a sip of water and put down the cup. "When I was in the United States, I charged $2,000 per hour. That's reasonable. I'll pay you every month. You can start reading now." Gu Lingqing walked to the study room. Baiya looked at his back. It was good that he was clear about his finances and his work. At least, they wouldn't owe each other anything. Baiya followed him into the study room. His study room was very clean and tidy. There were many models of warships on the table. He had many kinds of books. There was a military theory on the table with a pen in the center. Reading and taking notes. His habits hadn't changed. Baiya sat opposite him. "Let's start," Gu Lingqing said in a deep voice. "What do you think your problem is?" Baiya said softly, knocking on the table lightly. "In the past 3 years, I often dreamed about a woman. I never saw her face clearly, but she was always there. At first, I thought she was my girlfriend, but then I found out she wasn't." Gu Lingqing was suspicious. "How did you find out?" Baiya asked. Chapter 148. Baiya's eyes trembled. She looked at Gu Lingqing deeply, trying to find traces of lying on his face. However, there was none. He was even more unfathomable than her. Was she always in his dreams? Did he miss her? Even if he decided not to look back, even if he decided to clear his mind, his heart was still hit hard. "We met once 3 years ago, on the train. You met me at that time, and you were upset about my little finger." A dream was not necessarily a memory. It could also be something that one accidentally remembered. There was once a psychopath who told her teacher her ghost story. She said that her husband's lover's name was Sang Shui. She said that her husband's daughter's name was Mengyu. In fact, Sang Shui was her daughter's name, and Mengyu was her daughter's classmate's name. You remember that the woman in your dream had a broken finger. You subconsciously thought that it was me, but in fact, it might not be me, Baiya explained. "Alright, let's start the treatment." Gu Lingqing sat on the chair. Baiya stopped thinking and treated Gu Lingqing as an ordinary patient. 3 years ago, your memory stopped in that accident. Baiya began to chat. "How do you know that my memory stopped in that accident?" Gu Lingqing squinted his eyes suspiciously and looked at Baiya vigilantly. Baiya knew that he said the wrong thing. "We knew each other before, didn't we? I know a little about your things." "Alright, let's continue." Gu Lingqing said rationally. "Can you tell me more? What is the last place you remember?" Baiya asked. Gu Lingqing's eyes were gloomy. Killing, despair, pain. Baiya looked down. In fact, she was the one who suffered the most for Gu Lingqing. So, he forgot her existence. He chose to forget her. Now, why should he think about it? Thinking about it was just a burden for both of them. Baiya stopped knocking on the table. If your girlfriend gave you a box, what would you want in the box? There is no if, Gu Lingqing said coldly. Chief Gu has a very strong perception and strong willpower. He is not easily hypnotized. For such clients, I usually let them take a pill. Most of the time, the patient did not know that they had eaten it. Their guard would be lowered, and it would be easier to hypnotize them. But I felt that if I gave him medicine for no reason, he would be more cautious. Baiya rummaged through her bag. He took out a white bottle and a white pill. He placed it in his palm and handed it to Gu Lingqing. Gu Lingqing scrutinized Baiya. Baiya smiled, "Are you afraid that I will poison you? This is your territory. If I poison you to death, I won't be able to live. Right now, I don't want to die." Gu Lingqing held the back of her hand, her red lips brushing across the palm of her hand. It felt like there was an electric current. Baiya's body trembled and he retracted his hand. His palms were still a little wet. She rubbed her palms on her clothes. Gu Lingqing glanced at her hand, displeasure flashing across his face. He put the pill in his mouth, drank 2 mouthfuls of water and swallowed the pill. "Now, you can start. If you doubt someone, don't use him. If you use him, don't doubt him," Gu Lingqing said domineeringly. Baiya took out his phone from his bag and played some gentle and elegant music. It was a sunny morning. The wind blew past your face, bringing with it a burst of fragrance. You took a deep breath and felt refreshed. You walked past the rose garden and came to the meadow. The grass on the meadow was soft and comfortable to step on with bare feet. You saw the back of a girl in the distance. The girl was wearing a white dress, sitting on the meadow with bare feet. You slowly walked towards her. Bai Yunqiu said softly and looked at Gu Lingqing. Gu Lingqing had already fallen asleep. He leaned against the chair, his brows furrowed and he looked like he had a lot on his mind. There was a layer of sadness in Baiya's eyes. You saw the girl. The girl was very beautiful as the person you imagined. She said, "Gu Lingqing, sleep with me for a while." You lay on the meadow, bathed in the sunlight, smelled the fragrance of nature and fell asleep peacefully. Gu Lingqing's brows gradually relaxed and he fell into a deep sleep. Baiya got up, took a blanket from the sofa and covered Gu Lingqing with it. She walked to the window and looked outside. It was still raining and the wind was very strong. It blew the branches and the branches swayed like a devil. Baiya's phone rang. She quickly turned it off, walked out, closed the door and answered the call. "What's wrong? Is it convenient for you to answer the phone now?" Mu Shaoxing asked. "Yes, go ahead." Baiya walked towards the door. "We investigated according to what you said and found Angie's lover. He was a fitness trainer. He found out that Angie died and was very sad. He said that Angie gave him a box a few days ago and said that if the police were to look for him, he should give the box to the police so that he would be safe. Do you want to come over and take a look?" Mu Shaoxing said. "Yes, I'm going back to the hotel now. Bring him and the box to my hotel." Baiya changed into her shoes. "Open the door." Lieutenant Colonel Song and the others stood outside the door like statues, expressionless as they guarded the door. Gu Lingqing's men were indeed well trained. Lieutenant Colonel Song saw Baiya and was a little surprised. "Where's the chief?" "He's resting. Don't wake him up. He probably hasn't slept well for a long time. Is it convenient for you to send me away now?" Baiya asked. Lieutenant Colonel Song was on guard and returned to the study. He was relieved to see that the chief was really resting. He walked out and said to Baiya, "Detective Bai is really capable." The chief has been haunted by nightmares and often has insomnia. I'll send someone to send you back now. Baya nodded. Thank you. The soldiers sent Baya back to Wui Road. Because of the heavy rain, the car didn't drive fast. An hour later, Baya arrived at the hotel. Mu Shaoxing and the others were already there. Why are you so slow? Bao Ma said you left a long time ago. Mu Shaoxing scolded. Later, the road over there was flooded. The car was stuck in the middle of the road. Baya looked at the fitness trainer. The fitness trainer was very handsome and strong. His eyes were red. Is Angie really dead? How could this be? We were fine before. Take a look at the box, Baya said. The fitness trainer passed the box to Baya. Baya opened it. There was only a photo inside. Baya had seen this photo before. It was in the drawer of Angie's bedside table. It was a photo of Song Jianren and Angie when they were young. Song Jianlan hugged Angie. They were both smiling brightly. Does this photo mean that the person who killed Angie was Song Jianren? Mu Shaoxing was suspicious. Chapter 149. What you said is also true. Only I can find my own temple in the dark with such accuracy. However, I'm afraid that with just our side of the story, General An will not be convinced. He will feel that we are perfunctory. Mu Shaoxing said worriedly. Let's ask Song Jianren what this photo means to him. I think there should be evidence. Baya said elegantly. Why do you think so? Mu Shaoxing couldn't see the mystery. Angie was ready to commit suicide a few days ago. She can design such a sophisticated plan. In fact, her mind is very delicate. She chose to commit suicide. She was worried that her death would implicate the gym's coach. The information given would not be useless. Baya analyzed. Since she chose to commit suicide, why did she make it so special? Couldn't she simply choose to cut her wrist? The police asked. Baya's eyes paused. Her wrist was faintly painful. Her face was still calm. Because she still has resentment. Baya said softly, if I'm right, Mao Yu should be the woman behind her husband. Angie is not left-handed. She used her left hand to insert the silver needle into her left temple, intending to find some trouble for Mao Yu. She wanted to frame Mao Yu. Why did she leave evidence to prove that she committed suicide? This doesn't make sense. Mu Shaoxing couldn't figure it out. Baya slightly raised the corner of her mouth. She didn't want to frame Mao Yu. She just wanted to find some trouble for her. Angie is kind, sensitive, and loves her husband. It doesn't mean that she has no temper. When she was alive, she swallowed all the bitterness in her heart for the sake of her husband. When she died, she just wanted to be like a child and lose her temper. What you said is correct. The fitness coach said, Mao Yu is indeed the woman behind Angie's husband. Angie's husband bought a villa for Mao Yu. They often lived together. Angie knew it, but she didn't say it. Angie is a good woman. I advised her to divorce. After the divorce, I will marry her. I love her. But she said that if she divorced, what about the face of her family, the Song family, and the Gu family? Her husband and her son will become the laughingstock of others. She can't leave. The fitness instructor was agitated. Last month, Angie sprained her ankle. I went to take care of her. That bastard Song Jianren said that Angie had an affair with me and forced her to divorce. Angie and I had never slept together. I was so angry that I exposed the relationship between Song Jianren and Mao Yu. Song Jianren was afraid that the matter would be exposed, so his attitude changed immediately. He took Angie home and took care of her every day, not letting me see her. A few days ago, Angie came to me and gave me this box. From what she said, I felt that something was wrong. I call her, her phone is turned off. I didn't expect her to choose suicide. After hearing this, Baya felt very uncomfortable. It was a heavy feeling. The most heart-wrenching love was not the vigorous and frivolous youth. Instead, I've been with you for decades. I've given birth to your children and experienced the vicissitudes of life. When my beauty is old, my love has also disappeared. All that's left is a candle in the wind. Let's go see Song Jianren. Baya said to Mu Shaosheng. He's a bastard. The fitness instructor said and ran away. Song Jianren didn't ask them to go to the office to look for him. Instead, he asked them to go to a cafe. There were only Baya and Song Jianren in the cafe. Baya put the photo on the table and pushed it in front of Song Jianren. Do you want to know how your wife died? Angie was a good person. She was good to everyone. I can't figure out who would kill her. Song Jianren furrowed his brows. Baya laughed. Her eyes were full of mockery. Her death is a release for you. He knows how she died, but you only want to not get involved in the secret you want to hide. Song Jianren flew into a rage out of humiliation. What nonsense are you talking about? Baya continued, her death, to her, was because of love and fulfillment. I just want to ask Mr. Song, in your heart, do you want a romantic and beautiful woman who will give her all for you, or do you want a woman who knows that she will destroy you but still hurt the woman who loves you without hesitation? A woman. Song Jianren paused. He looked deeply at Baya. Some people have an elegant heart. Some people only have an elegant appearance. People with an elegant heart can see the other person's elegant heart. People without an elegant heart can only see the other person's elegant appearance. Tell me the story of this photo. Baya looked at the photo. Song Jianren looked at the photo and was deep in thought. He didn't want to say it. Do you not believe in Angie's love now, or do you not have the heart to love anyone? Baya asked. Song Jianren looked at Baya. She used to say that if she was angry at me, she would write her thoughts on a piece of paper, put it in a metal box, and hide it under this stone table. Bring us there now. Her last words should be in there. It might also be the last words she wanted to tell you. Baya stood up. Song Jianren furrowed his brows. I want to see it first. This is my personal thing. You still don't believe her in the end? Ha! Baya's tone was full of disdain. An hour later, they took out the metal box that Angie had hidden. Baya held the black umbrella and stood at the side. She watched Song Jianren open the box. There was a letter on the top, and below it was a small metal box that was locked with a lock. There was a note on the small metal box. The handwriting on the note was not beautiful, but it was very neat. It said, "For Brother Ren." The password is set. Baya glanced at the small metal box and looked at Song Jianren with her clear eyes. She still wanted to protect you at the last moment. She should be in heaven now. Song Jianren took the letter out of the envelope with trembling hands. He wanted to make sure that his secret was not exposed. The content of the letter was like this: Brother Ren, I'm sick. I'm very sick. I have to leave first. I can't take care of you anymore. I'm sorry. Thank you for taking care of me. Marrying you is the luckiest thing in my life. Little E, I'm sorry. I have to leave. I miss you the most. I haven't seen you get married, and I haven't taken care of your child. But I'm sick. I have to die to be free. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Brother Ren treats me very well. My death has nothing to do with anyone else. I hope that you can be happy. Hurry up and find a wife to take care of you. I'm leaving. If there's a heaven, I will protect you in it. Angie's last words. Baya kept the letter and married a police officer. The people involved in this case were all high-ranking officials. Suicide was the best ending for them. She looked at Song Jianren. That gentle and modest-looking man was looking at the letters in the small box, crying bitterly without a care for his image. Chapter 150. In her textbook, there was a passage, a powerful woman keeps a man's money. A kind woman keeps a man's dignity. A smart woman keeps her dignity. Angie was a kind woman, although she despised men like Song Jianren. But, to Angie, it is possible, his tears, she has been satisfied, because she is too kind. A person's happiness was not determined by the amount of money, the strength of one's influence, or the level of one's status, but by one's desire. People who were easily satisfied would be easily happy. People who were not easily satisfied would not be easily happy. Bai Ye's phone rang. She saw it was Lu Shuang, smiled, and answered the phone. Little Bai, where are you now? The emergency training is finally over. Gu Lingqing is the king of hell. It was a wrong decision for me to work in the military. I didn't find a boyfriend, but I'm becoming more and more manly. Lu Shuang complained. Bai Ye was amused by Lu Shuang. Let's meet at Water Moon International. I'll go there now and tell you the address when I find a place for dinner. Okay, see you later. Bai Ye put away her phone. The police chief was standing next to her. Thank you, Detective Bai. If it weren't for you, the case wouldn't have been solved so quickly. We thought it would be a cold case. The police chief smiled and complimented. It's nothing. I'm also working in the research institute. You're welcome, Chief, Bai said elegantly. Detective Bai's name is well known internationally. I want to hold a celebration dinner tonight. I wonder if Detective Bai is free. The police chief invited warmly. I've just returned to China today. I still have friends to meet, so I won't be going. Thank you for your kindness. Bai Ye nodded. All right. I'll ask someone to send you there. Sometimes, if you refused too much, you would be forced into a desperate situation. If you agreed appropriately, it would also save the other party's face and let both parties have a friendly relationship. Okay. Bai Ye arrived at Water Moon International first and went into a rather romantic cafe. On the stage, an elegant and beautiful girl in a white dress was playing the piano. The sound of the piano was beautiful. She sent the location to Lu Shuang, chose a private room, and sat inside. The door of the private room was curtained, and the people inside could see outside. After a while, Lu Shuang rushed over and sized up Bai Ye. He said happily, Little Bai, you're so beautiful now. You're much more beautiful than before. I'm falling in love with you. Bai Ye smiled. No matter how beautiful she is, she can't compare to your valiant and heroic bearing right now. This is the true nature of a girl. Ha 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 ha. I like this sentence. Lu Shuang hugged Bai Ye. Tears welled up in Bai Ye's eyes. It had been a long time since he felt this warmth. Little Bai, I miss you so much. Lu Shuang's voice was a little choked. Cool girl, I missed you too, Bai Ye said softly. You don't know how much of a jerk Gu Lingqing is. When he saw me, he didn't even look me in the eye. He and Su Shaoling love each other, showing off every other day. I really want to give him 2 slaps and make him eat sh*t. He's worse than Su Jiran. Oh right, Su Jiran has become better. There's no gossip in the past 3 years, and he often asks me how you're doing now. Lu Shuang nagged. Bai Ye's eyes were still as deep as an ancient pond. No one could tell what she was thinking. The waiter served red wine, steak, foie gras, vegetable salad, and a variety of snacks. Bai Ye swirled the wine glass elegantly. Lu Shuang was hungry. He ate the meat in big mouthfuls and drank a big mouthful of red wine. Is it still possible for you and Su Jiran to be together? I think he wants to turn back. A prodigal son is more valuable than gold. Scars stay in the heart. Time makes the pain fade, but it won't be forgotten. Even if the past is changed, I don't have the desire to see it again. Men are like a textbook. Su Jiran taught me to be sad and angry. I don't have the desire to relive it. Bai Ye said lightly. She took a sip of the red wine. Her long earlobes were shining, full of intellectual light. Lu Shuang looked at Baiya with admiration. He held his chin and said casually, "Little Bai, you feel so cultured after studying psychology." Baiya laughed and poked Lu Shuang's forehead. "I feel like this bowl of rice is like walking chicken soup for the soul." Ha ha ha. Basically, 60% of it is fake. I don't think you're fake. You're overflowing. I'm in the military every day, and I feel like my male hormones are overflowing. Baiya was amused by Lu Shuang again. They chatted happily and drank a lot of wine. Baiya paid the bill. The two of them walked out hand in hand. They looked at each other and smiled. A tall man stood in front of Baiya. Baiya narrowed her eyes and looked up at him. Su Jiran was very excited. He looked at Baiya's slightly drunk and red face with a burning gaze. "Xiaoya, you're back." "Ha." Baiya smiled honestly. "It's better to reminisce than to meet. It's better to forget than to reminisce." Lu Shuang took it naturally and pushed Su Jiran away. Su Jiran did not move. He held Baiya's arm. "You're all drunk. It's raining heavily outside. It's hard to fight. I'll send you back." "Director Su, you have an appointment with Director Zhang from Sky Bearing International," the assistant reminded him. "I'll come back later." Su Jiran frowned and pulled Baiya's hand. The two girls were no match for her strength. He pulled them to the car. "Where are you staying?" Su Jiran asked. Baiya knew that with Su Jiran's ability, even if she did not tell him, he would know where she was staying the next day. Since she was back in the country, she had to be prepared to face everything. "International hotel in a city," Baiya said. Su Jiran drove there. Baiya called Mu Xiaosheng. "My friend and I are drunk. Pick me up at the entrance of my hotel." "Who are you calling?" Su Jiran's expression did not look very good. "Leader." Baiya simply said two words and closed her eyes. Su Jiran drove to the entrance. Before he got out of the car, Baiya got out and opened the door. Mu Xiaosheng walked over. "Please send my friend to the special forces. She has to go to work tomorrow morning." Baiya nodded and glanced at the car. "Okay." Mu Xiaosheng sat next to Lu Shuang. Baiya was still a little worried. She said, "Don't touch my friend. Otherwise, I won't forgive you." "Got it." Mu Xiaosheng sounded helpless. Baiya looked at Su Jiran, who had been staring at her. Her attitude was calm and distant. "Thank you. I'll contact you later," Su Jiran said. He did not force her and drove away. Baiya stumbled back to her room. When she opened the door, a black shadow rushed over. Before she could react, she was pushed against the wall. Chapter 151. What did he mean by letting him sleep and then run away? This sentence sounded too ambiguous, and it poked at the little secret hidden in her heart. Baiya felt uncomfortable and pushed him away, but she couldn't push him away. She explained helplessly, "It was your subordinate who said that you haven't slept for a long time. So I didn't disturb your rest, and I had something to do here, so I left without waking you up." Gu Lingqing held both sides of her face and made her face him. His deep eyes were burning with anger, and even his breath on her face was hot. "You have a glib tongue. You just let me sleep. You didn't do anything. I wanted to do something to you. You were sleeping too soundly, and I couldn't do anything even if I wanted to." Baiya wanted to push his hands away. Not only did she not, but he leaned closer. "What do you want to do to me?" Baiya pressed her hands against his chest and raised her voice. "Of course it's to see a doctor. What do you think it is?" Gu Lingqing pursed his lips and looked at her with his deep eyes. Her voice was reflected in his dark eyes. He didn't speak, but Baiya felt even more guilty, as if he could see through her. She lowered her eyes and covered the window of her heart. Look at me. Gu Lingqing said domineeringly. Baya felt that avoiding him was admitting defeat. She didn't admit defeat, and with anger, she looked straight into Gu Lingqing's eyes. You admitted that we slept together before, right? Gu Lingqing asked sharply. Baya didn't expect him to mention this, and in an instant, all her defenses were destroyed. She couldn't deny it. What are you trying to say? Gu Lingqing's lips curled up, and his eyes were shining with darkness, but they were very sharp, and could cut people into pieces. For more than 3 years, he often had the same dream. In the dream, a woman with a broken little finger, but her face couldn't be seen clearly. She was in pain and very sad, and she kept repeating one sentence. Gu Lingqing, where are you? I miss you so much, can you come back? Gu Lingqing. He had always suspected that the woman in his dream was Baya. From the first time they met, she had been acting strangely. From their inexplicable relationship. From her suicide, to running away, to studying abroad with all her might. She might not know this, but he had been to her school many times to see her and observe her. She had a cold personality, did not make friends, and did not speak much. Other than the fact that she was eloquent in class and terrifyingly logical when it came to sorting out cases, she was like an autistic person. Perhaps it was because of her that he went to America more often and kept in touch with his cousin's family. That was why he escorted his cousin back to America. Otherwise, with his identity, status, and how busy he was, how could he possibly be the one escorting them? He was now sure that there had been a period between them, and that they had sex. He had always been clean and honest. He had never done it with Zhou Hailan or Su Shaoling, but he had done it with her. That meant that he liked her very much. Why did we break up? Gu Lingqing asked directly, scrutinizing her expression. Our personalities are incompatible, our habits are incompatible, our family background is incompatible, and we are incompatible in all aspects, Baya said coldly, using indifference to hide the true feelings in her heart. Our personalities are incompatible too? Gu Lingqing asked with a frown. Baya paused, clenched her fists, and hesitated about what to say. If she said that they were incompatible, she would anger him. If she said that they were incompatible, she would encourage him. I don't want to talk about the past anymore. Baya skipped over this question. Gu Lingqing lifted her up easily. His arms were stronger than 3 years ago, like iron pincers. Baya could not break free, and Gu Lingqing had already placed her on the bed. He placed his hands on both sides of her body, looked down at her, and controlled her within his sphere of influence. I want to mention that the more detailed description of the details, the better. Baya was anxious. She felt that it was too ambiguous. It made her breathless. I have nothing to do with the chief now. Don't you think this request is too much? Baya refused. What kind of relationship do you want? Gu Lingqing asked confusedly. I don't want any relationship. Baya pushed him. Gu Lingqing held her hand and pressed it on the top of her head. His eyes were not filled with lust, but coldness. I want to figure out a few things. First, what is going on with your fingers and my fingers? Second, the reason why we broke up. Third, what we went through before. If you tell me everything, I will naturally let you go. Baya gave up struggling. Yes, why was she struggling? What was she afraid of? If she told him these reasons, he would let go. What he was obsessed with was not the relationship between them, but his blank memory. Now, Gu Lingqing only had Zhou Hailan in his heart. She seemed to have thought too much of herself. However, her heart still hurt. Her eyes were covered with a thin layer of gauze, blocking all her thoughts. Previously, we met because a pregnant woman was kidnapped. Later, you were drugged and had sex with me. You felt sorry for me and felt guilty towards me, so you were very, very good to me. Later, we were caught and both of our pinkies were cut off. Your career was too dangerous, so I proposed to break up. Just as I expected, you had an accident during the anti-terrorism mission and lost your memory, Baya said calmly, staring at Gu Lingqing's expression. Unfortunately, even though she was a master of psychology, she could not see what Gu Lingqing was thinking at this moment. Who drugged me? Gu Lingqing questioned. His tone was cold and decisive, like the resolute chief, but definitely not the Gu Lingqing in her memory. I don't know. You have a lot of enemies, and you never tell me. I won't ask about these confidential things, Baya said calmly. Who caught us? Gu Lingqing asked immediately. I don't know either. Baya did not know anything anyway. The more she said, the more she did, wasn't it? Gu Lingqing was a little annoyed by her attitude. His pupils shrank. What position do you and I like? She did not want to recall these memories. The reality was too cruel. It would only make the memories become sharp swords, cutting the flesh on her heart bit by bit. Behind. Baya gave a random answer. The time he raped her was behind her, so she did not see his face clearly. Gu Lingqing frowned, his expression blurred. I helped you. He paused. Even a man would find it difficult to say it. Did you have oral sex? No, Baya said without thinking. Gu Lingqing held her chin. You're lying. Baya was embarrassed into anger. He broke her defense. She pushed his hand away and said impulsively, It's been too long. I've long forgotten. He had originally been testing her, but her words had inadvertently given him a positive answer. They really had that kind of relationship. If he did not love her, he would not have done that. She was lying to him. Why was she lying to him? Then relive it. Chapter 152. He was very strong, just as she remembered. Arrogant, domineering, unable to refuse or break free. She was more like a fish on the chopping board, waiting to be slaughtered. She didn't want to go back to the past, where every day was hopeless. Baya pursed her lips tightly and didn't let him in. The more she didn't let him in, the more she resisted, the more he wanted to conquer her. Gu Lingqing kissed her more and more passionately, and his big palm went under her skirt. Baya opened her eyes wide in fear. Her lips were blocked by him, and she couldn't make a sound. She was not as strong as him, so she couldn't break free at all. He wanted her to fall in love with him again, but what about after that? What about after that? He lost his memory and completely forgot about her. She loved him deeply, but could only watch him love another woman deeply. She became the target of public criticism, but he could let go of her so freely. If Su Jiran taught her to be sad and angry, then, Gu Lingqing taught her what despair was. Despair to the point that, she was still seriously ill. A doctor couldn't cure himself. This saying was true. During the day, she could still pretend to be healthy and talk cheerfully. Late at night, facing the dark air and the silence of no one, all her thoughts and emotions returned to the day she cut her wrist 3 years ago. There was only one person alive, and no one could warm her cold heart. When she died, she was still alone, lying in the dark world and continuing to enjoy loneliness. She was living like a ghost, looking into other people's lives. However, in her eyes, her life had already ended when she cut her wrist 3 years ago. She just wanted to live a perfect life that others wanted her to live. However, that heart was already broken. Gu Lingqing reached in cruelly. Baya only felt ashamed and angry. She didn't move, looking at him coldly, handsome and cold. Gu Lingqing felt that she was no longer struggling, and looked at Baya with his deep eyes. When he saw her eyes, it was like the surface of a frozen lake, full of transparent coldness. Is the bureau chief going to use force? Of course, you have a high position and power. You can have any woman you want. Even if you are strong, I don't have the ability to sue you, right? Baya said coldly. Do you think he's using force? Gu Lingqing asked back. Don't tell me you think I'm enjoying it now. Baiya said sarcastically. Then let me enjoy it, Gu Lingqing said domineeringly. He didn't know why he was so crazy about her. In fact, when he saw her on the train 3 years ago, he thought it was crazy to invite her to his place. He had a special feeling for her. He couldn't figure out what this feeling was. Every time he dreamed of the girl saying sadly, Gu Lingqing, come back. He would feel an extreme pain in his heart, so much so that he couldn't sleep. It was so painful that he wanted to cut his heart out. He wanted to find the answer. His parents were preventing him from finding the answers, his friends were preventing him from finding the answers, and even she was preventing him from finding the answers. They were all trying to stop him from finding the answer, but he had to get it. Even if it was self-destruction. Gu Lingqing kissed her. Baiya pursed her lips tightly. He sucked on her lips forcefully until they were red and swollen. His fingers were mercilessly possessive. He stared at her every expression, wanting to see her emotions. But there was none. She stared back at him, her eyes filled with unyielding pride and arrogance. She was a woman with a very sharp temper. He held her chin and said with hatred, "Didn't you say that even if I use force, you can't do anything to me? Do you want me to be strong or not?" "I don't want to," Baiya said without thinking. "Then cooperate well," Gu Lingqing said domineeringly. Baiya felt like she was being torn apart by him. For more than 3 years, she hadn't had any other man, so she only felt pain. Other than her body, there was also her heart. She didn't want to cry. The mist blurred her eyes and gathered into tears, flowing out from the corners of her eyes. There was no emotion in his eyes, no confusion, only coldness. What did Gu Lingqing, who had no memory, experience in the past 3 years to become so cruel and heartless? Baiya went from crying to wailing without any image. If Gu Lingqing hadn't lost his memory, he wouldn't have treated her like this. But there were no ifs in the world. A trace of softness flowed through Gu Lingqing's eyes, instantly merging into the dark color of his eyes. He leaned over and kissed her tears. Her tears were salty. He kissed her, from the corner of her eyes, to her cheeks, and then to her lips. Even his attacks became gentler, and he let go of her ankles. He let her sit on him, and they sat face to face. He looked at her deeply, his eyes dark, but not as sharp as before. Baiya thought of her wailing and felt a little embarrassed. She wasn't a little girl, and it wasn't her first time. Why did she make herself look like a young girl? She turned her face away. What she was sad about was not that she was forced to have sex with him, but that she didn't know where the Gu Lingqing in her heart was now. She couldn't find him when she was alive, and she couldn't find him when she died. She just quietly shed tears. "Is it a safe period?" Gu Lingqing asked in a low voice. Even if she was, she would only say no. "Don't get it in there." "Okay," Gu Lingqing responded. Baiya didn't know when it ended. It was hard to say. On the first day she returned to China, something indescribable happened with him, which was far beyond her expectations. She couldn't go on like this. Gu Lingqing was very fierce during the process, and after the process, he probably felt that he had gone too far, so he was gentle when he wiped her tears. Baiya was angry at his overbearing attitude, so she didn't want him to wipe her tears. She pushed his hand away and wiped it herself. "Did you feel better after that?" Gu Lingqing asked. Baiya rolled her eyes at him. He knew that she didn't feel good at the beginning. She didn't want to answer his question. "Chief, we can go now. I want to take a shower." "Is there a connection between you taking a shower and letting me go?" Gu Lingqing frowned. Baiya threw a pillow at him. Gu Lingqing caught it easily. "You have a bad temper." He put the pillow behind her back and glanced at her. His eyes were deep and unfathomable. When he came out at the end, he suddenly felt that she was the one he had been looking for, which made his heart feel a lot more at ease. He was sure that before he lost his memory, he must have loved her very much. What about her? Did she really not like him like what she said in her story? When he thought of this, his heart felt like it was being held tightly by a hand, and he had difficulty breathing. Chapter 153. Baya was so angry that she couldn't speak. His behavior now was like selling her, and after selling her, he still asked her what she was going to do. What could she do? What could she do? Sue him. She could deceive the world, but she couldn't deceive herself. She couldn't bear it. She couldn't bear to see him discredited, upset, and hurt him a little bit. Even if he had forgotten her. Even if there was only Zhou Hailan in his heart now. Baya felt her face was hot, and then realized that she had cried again. She wiped away her tears handsomely and looked at Gu Lingqing, whose eyes were as dark as ink. His eyes were bottomless, and she couldn't see his expression clearly. Why are you crying? Gu Lingqing asked, and finally frowned. The more Baya thought about it, the angrier she became. She threw the pillow at him again. He continued to catch it, quietly and calmly put the pillow on the head of the bed again, and squinted at her red eyes. Forget each other in Jianghu. There are some things that you won't be in danger if you don't touch them. Now Gu Lingqing is like the sun in the sky. You will become the greatest person one day. That's what everyone hopes for. Baya said lightly. Everyone, including you? Gu Lingqing asked in a deep voice. Of course, there was no hatred between you and me before. I once had a boyfriend who became the greatest person in the world. When I become a grandmother, I will brag about it to my grandson with great honor, Baya said without thinking. Gu Lingqing sat down on the sofa and didn't speak. His quiet eyes were like X-rays, examining her. Baya didn't dare to look at him, nor did she dare to speak again, for fear of exposing something. The atmosphere was tense and strange, and quiet and strange, like a flood of pressure hitting her heart. After an hour, Gu Lingqing got up. Baya looked at him nervously. He didn't say anything, gathered his clothes, and left her room. Baya fell on the bed softly. He had left, but his smell still lingered in the room, filling the tip of the nose. Baya recalled that distant yesterday. There was a mighty and unyielding soldier who used his flesh and blood to protect her, to protect the people he wanted to protect. He was always unafraid of life and death, unafraid of sharpness, fighting on the front lines. He was a person who could give people warmth everywhere. Do not give warmth, but fate. What a terrible fate. Baya was angry. She stood up and smashed the ashtray, table lamp, and television in the hotel. Finally, she lost all her strength and sat on the sofa. She lowered her head and her shoulders trembled as she cried bitterly. After crying, she still felt heartache. Being too rational, too clear, and too insightful about life would lead to despair. Her illness could not be cured. Crying, she took out a small white bottle from her bag, poured out a white pill, and threw it into her mouth. She opened the mineral water bottle on the bedside table, ate it, and climbed onto the bed. The medicine that forced her to sleep was not prepared for patients with strong willpower. It was for herself, so she carried it with her. Gradually, Baya fell asleep. She slept until dawn. When she opened her eyes, she saw the mess in the room. Her illness had acted up again yesterday. Baya lowered her eyes and called the front desk rationally. I will be checking out in an hour. There was an accident in the room. It's best to let the room manager come and take a look. I will settle the hotel's losses when I check out. She walked into the bathroom quietly. She brushed her teeth, washed her face, put on makeup, combed her hair, changed into this year's Chanel spring camel trench coat, and carried her LV bag. When she was packing her luggage, the room manager came over and saw the room full of debris. Did you get robbed? I can call the police. No need, let me calculate and I will pay according to the price, Baya said calmly, zipping up her luggage. Is it still raining outside? It's fine, the customer service manager said respectfully. Okay. Baya carried her luggage out, pressed the elevator button, and went down. I'm the guest in room 1809. I'm checking out now. Baya handed the room card and deposit slip to the service desk. She knew that the room manager wanted to register the damaged items in the room, so she took out her phone and sent a message to Mu Xiaosheng. I will go to the research institute later today. Okay, I have arranged a proposal for you. You can come and see if it is reasonable. If you think it is reasonable, sign it, Mu Xiaosheng replied. Okay. Miss, the total is 15,600, the cashier said. Can I pay with Alipay? Baya asked. Yes. When Baya opened the payment platform, a hand holding a bank card handed over. Her fee can be paid over here. Baya looked at the man next to her in surprise. He was tall and strong with fair skin. He wore a suit and black-rimmed glasses, looking mature and steady. However, she did not know him. The man saw Baya's doubt and said with a smile, I am someone sent by Mr. Gu. Which Mr. Gu? Baya quickly searched for information in her mind. She did not know many people with the surname Gu. The name Gu Lingqing flashed through her mind. Gu Lingqing, Mr. Gu, the man answered directly. Baya did not want others to know about her relationship with Gu Lingqing. She lowered her voice and said, I don't need him to pay. Miss Bai is a smart person. You also studied psychology. You should know Mr. Gu's temper. If he wants to pay, no one can stop him, Reynolds said with a smile. Baya frowned and turned around. Suspicion flashed in her eyes. She did not want to be entangled, so she chose to check out and change places. What did Gu Lingqing mean? She was confused and walked to the door with her luggage. Four tall and strong men stood in front of her. Baya turned her head and looked at Reynolds. There was a flame of anger in her eyes. Reynolds, on the other hand, was calm. He took the deposit returned by the waiter and handed it to Baya. Baya pushed his hand away. What do you mean? Miss Bai, get in the car first. You know you have to go. I'm afraid you still don't know Mr. Gu's power. Even if you disappear here, there will be no evidence. Reynolds said with a smile. His words were full of killing intent. This man was a smiling tiger. Baya walked out. The heart in her hand was snatched away by Reynolds's men and put into the trunk. Baya exhaled, adjusted her breathing, and got in the Lincoln Stretch Edition. Gu Lingqing was not in the car. Reynolds sat opposite her and negotiated directly, Mr. Gu likes you very much. He wants you to be the woman behind his back for a year. You can discuss any conditions you have. What? Baya was very, very shocked. Gu Lingqing actually found someone to ask her to be the woman behind his back. What did the woman behind his back mean? He already had a fiancée. Chapter 154. He really stepped on her bottom line every single time. Baya forced herself to calm down. I'm sorry, I don't lack money and I don't want to sell myself. I have a decent job and I don't want to be someone's woman. Ms. Bai, you know that your friend Lu Shuang is working in the special forces now. Maybe she's a spy or something. It's hard to say, Reynolds said with a smile. There were smile lines in his eyes, but it made people feel cold. What he meant was that if they wanted to kill Lu Shuang, it would be as easy as killing an ant. Moreover, they could also destroy Lu Shuang's entire family. How did Gu Lingqing become like this? He was very different from the Gu Lingqing in her mind. What had he been through in the past 3 years? Baya was too angry. She clenched her fists tightly, and the veins on the back of her hands popped. She was trying to hold it in, and even her gums were trembling. Ms. Bai, don't be angry. Mr. Gu is a good person. At least his private life is clean. He doesn't look for women to solve his physical problems, Reynolds said. What did he mean by not looking for women to solve his physical problems? He meant that he had looked for women to solve his physical problems. That was right. Gu Lingqing was already 33. It was normal for him to look for women to solve his physical problems. But this woman, she didn't want to do that. She would rather not have anything to do with him. As far as I know, Gu Lingqing is running for president now. Aren't you worried that these scandals will spread and he won't have anything? Baya tried to negotiate and looked at Reynolds coldly. Mr. Gu doesn't plan to compete for the presidency this time. It seems like you care about Mr. Gu a lot, Reynolds said meaningfully. He doesn't want to compete. Baya was surprised. He was the most popular candidate. No matter in terms of power, wealth, or support from the people, he would definitely become the president. Forget it. Why did she care about this? It had nothing to do with her. I advise Ms. Bai to get what she wants. You'll only be crushed if you try to hit a rock with an egg. You'll also drag others down with you. However, if you change your way of thinking, you can take the opportunity to get what you want. 1 year is not a long time, but you can save a lifetime of hard work. More importantly, this kind of relationship was secretive, and no one could know about it. It wouldn't affect your future marriage and children, so why wouldn't Ms. Bai do it? Besides, Mr. Gu is the most popular man in country A. You won't lose out if you follow him. Who knows, you might even be able to make him fall in love with you and become a first-rank wife in the future. Currently, Mr. Gu has a fiancée, but he has no intention of getting married. You still have a chance, Reynolds negotiated. Baya was not stupid. She knew too well the difference between the strong and the weak. I want to talk to Gu Lingqing, Baya said directly. Reynolds saw that he had already said what he needed to say. After getting out of the car, he dialed a number with a solemn expression. After a while, he said, Mr. Gu can talk to you. Let's go now. As the car moved forward, Baya looked out of the window. It seemed that they were going to the blue sky courtyard. She guessed that the place was probably where Gu Lingqing usually rested. After driving for more than an hour, they arrived at the blue sky courtyard. Lieutenant Colonel Song stood at the door and said to Baya expressionlessly, the chief is in a meeting now. He will come over later. He asked you to wait for a while. Baya didn't say anything. She went into the villa and sat on the sofa. Reynolds's men took her luggage down and placed it on the side of the sofa. Baya picked up her phone and browsed through the news. There was an explosion at a chemical plant in Trijiang City last night, and more than 200 people died. It was a huge sensation. Human life was really fragile. The families of those people would be devastated. However, no matter how sad they were, they still had to live. However, in their hearts, they would always feel like they had lost a piece of meat. Someone pushed the door open, and the light fell on her face. Baya subconsciously looked at the door. Gu Lingqing walked in and handed the windbreaker on his wrist to Lieutenant Colonel Song beside him. Inside was a white shirt and a black suit. He was rigid, meticulous, cold, and abstinent. His face was still expressionless, so deep that no one could guess what he was thinking. He sat opposite her, his body straight, and his eyes were sharp. Reynolds said you wanted to talk to me? I think Mr. Gu can have many women. Why force a woman who is unwilling? Baya said coldly. You want to know the reason? Gu Lingqing's eyes became colder. First, to be honest, you are not my type, but I dated you before. I feel very curious. I want to know why I liked you at that time. Second, since we have already had sex, and we had sex yesterday, there is no need for me to look for other women. Third, I feel that you have a lot of things to hide. Since you are not willing to tell me, I can only slowly find out what you are hiding as we get along. Fourth, yesterday was quite comfortable. To a certain extent, you fit my fantasy of women. It is time for me to have a woman. Is there anything else you want to ask? Gu Lingqing was simple and direct. It was obviously a very ambiguous and obscure question, but he said it openly and in a businesslike manner. Haven't you realized that I don't like you? Baya said cruelly. A cold glint flashed across Gu Lingqing's eyes. It was a coldness that could freeze 3 feet. Does it have anything to do with me? He looked at her with a deep and determined gaze. There was no warmth inside at all. Baya looked at Gu Lingqing in surprise. Other than being cold, he was still cold. He was so mean that it made people's hair stand on end. It was as if she had encountered a robber and there was nothing she could do. I want 100% freedom. You can't restrict my work and life, Baya said helplessly. If you come with me, you won't have 100% freedom. I called you and I have to come back here. I don't have too much time to waste with you, Gu Lingqing said coldly and stood up. Baya stood up too. You can't interfere with my life and work. Can you do that? Also, a year is too long. 3 months. Stop pestering me after 3 months. Stop pestering me. She was really heartless to him. Gu Lingqing turned around and held Baya's chin. You don't have the right to negotiate with me. Baya was annoyed. She pushed his hand away and looked at him sharply. Your so-called right is to stand at a high place and trample on other people's pride, making them obey you unconditionally. What right do you have to do all this? If you force them, they will only resist and you won't be able to win their hearts. Gu Lingqing's cold eyes narrowed and were dyed red. Your heart, do you think it's worthy for me to win it? I just want to know about the past that you are hiding. I'm not interested in you personally. Baya pursed her lips and didn't say anything. Chapter 155. She understood. Gu Lingqing wanted her to be his woman, not because he liked her, not because he loved her, but because he wanted to know about his hidden past from her. He was testing her, examining her, and observing her. Her heart still hurt badly. His parents didn't want him to know about his past because they were afraid that he would mess with her and ruin his future. She didn't want him to know about her past because she didn't want to be a hindrance to him. Their so-called protection had now turned Gu Lingqing into a cold-blooded and heartless person. I don't want to wash it, Baya said stubbornly. She turned her face away, feeling annoyed and frustrated. Gu Lingqing's long arms hooked her into his arms. I'll help you wash it. Baya twisted her body, trying to break free. His arms were like iron pincers. His hot breath fell on her cold face. She couldn't break free at all, so she gave up and sighed. I'll wash it myself. You can choose any room here and live here in the future. I'll come back when I'm free. I'm usually very busy, so I'm only free for 1 or 2 days a month. The rest of the time, you'll always be free, Gu Lingqing said in a low voice, looking at her with a burning gaze, as if answering her previous request. Baya heard him say that he was only free for 1 or 2 days a month, which was only 24 hours a year. It didn't sound so hard to accept. I've already told you about my past. We haven't known each other for a long time. You can calculate this. From the time we completed the mission to save the pregnant woman to the time you got into trouble, it was at most half a year. Moreover, we broke up a long time ago, Baya explained. Whether what you said is true or not, I'll judge for myself. Gu Lingqing didn't believe her. Within a year, don't let others find out about our relationship. In front of others, even if we meet, pretend that we don't know each other, okay? Baya requested. Gu Lingqing looked at her sharply. So many women wanted to have a relationship with him, but she was so repulsed. Why? Okay, Gu Lingqing said in a low voice. If a tree is strong, it will break. 1 year later, we will all be fine. Baya furrowed her brows and lowered her eyes. Her long eyelashes covered the window of her soul, hiding too many emotions. Go take a shower. Gu Lingqing loosened his hands. He didn't answer the question directly. He turned around and entered the first room without giving Baya a chance to stare at him. Baya carried her luggage and pushed open the door to the second room. The second room was empty, but it was also clean and spotless. There was also a separate bathroom in the room. Baya felt that this room was not bad, so she pulled her luggage and walked in. However, she couldn't live here all the time. It felt like she was being kept. She didn't want to establish an unequal relationship with Gu Lingqing at the beginning. She had her dignity that she needed to maintain. Even if she had no choice but to stay by his side. Baya just took the clothes inside and went into the bathroom. She had just changed her clothes today, so they were clean. The warm water fell from the top of her head and washed away her thick makeup. She closed her eyes. After showering for a long time, she went out of the bathroom, dried her hair, put on her clothes and opened the door. Gu Lingqing sat on the sofa and looked at the news on his phone. He was cold and expressionless. It was hard to tell what he was thinking. However, he wasn't wearing the suit that he had worn when he first came in. Instead, he was wearing a white bathrobe. He was less reserved and had more of a mature man's charm. Feeling Baya's gaze, he looked at her with his clear eyes. He was still deep and indifferent. Did you put on makeup when we first met? No. Baya was simple and straightforward. You look better without makeup. If you had put on makeup, I don't think I would have fallen for you, Gu Lingqing said indifferently. Baya raised the corner of her mouth. If I had known, I would have put on makeup. Gu Lingqing's indifferent eyes flashed with displeasure and he stood up. Baya stood there stiffly. She didn't even dare to breathe loudly. Gu Lingqing walked in front of her, lifted her chin and slowly bent down. His handsome face enlarged in front of her eyes. Baya looked down. She didn't reject or respond. Gu Lingqing didn't kiss her. He looked at her eyes and asked, did I take the initiative in the past or did you take the initiative? You. Baya looked at him and said. His expression didn't change much. I guessed it was the same. However, to be able to make him take the initiative, he should really like this girl in front of him. She was able to argue her way out under his coercion. He didn't think that she was someone who would give up on him because of danger. What position do you like? Gu Lingqing's voice deepened. Baya blushed. She turned her face away and didn't say anything. Gu Lingqing held her hand. Her hand was very small and his palm could completely contain it. This time, you'll be the guide. Tell me, what did we do before? Gu Lingqing looked at her and asked. With her psychological acumen, she knew that his purpose was to recall some memories. However, she couldn't do it. I forgot. Baya directly refused. Gu Lingqing raised the corner of his mouth, but there was no smile in his eyes. Did you do it too much and forget it, or are you worried that I will remember something and forget it? It's because it's been too long and you forgot it. Baya corrected him. Then continue to relive it. Gu Lingqing carried her and walked to his room. He put her on his bed and kissed her lips. Baya felt that his temperature was too high. It was so high that she felt hot, so hot that she couldn't think. She wanted to push him, but to him, her strength was like cotton, soft and soft. When Gu Lingqing was kissing her, he unbuttoned her shirt and covered it with his big palms. He looked at Baya deeply. Baya frowned. She couldn't see any lust in him. He only looked at her and explored. She couldn't get into the mood. She didn't want to. However, after all, she had given birth to a child. The pain was only at the beginning. Soon, she could adapt to his presence. She pursed her lips and didn't make a sound. He couldn't see her love and enjoyment. He was a little annoyed and bit her shoulder. Ah! Baya was in pain and let out a soft moan. Gu Lingqing kissed her lips, lifted the tip of her tongue and kissed her forcefully. Baya was almost out of breath from his kiss. She pushed his shoulder. She was already annoyed that he bit her and it was very painful. Gu Lingqing let go of her. His voice was a little hoarse, and there was finally a strange misty and seductive look in his eyes. Baya, louder. I like your voice. She didn't let him have his way. She hugged the back of his neck and bit his shoulder. Gu Lingqing was excited. Did they interact like this in the past, biting each other? He seems to like it a lot. Imagining. Chapter 156. Baiya saw that he was getting more and more excited. She remembered that she was not in the safe period, so she pressed against his chest. Gu Lingqing's eyes locked onto her pink face, and a warm electric current ran through his spine. He held on to his last bit of rationality and lowered his head to kiss her lips. His muffled groan fell into her mouth. Her breathing was also a little unstable, and her eyes were unfocused. Slowly, she calmed down. Gu Lingqing raised the corner of his mouth. His smile was very faint. If one did not look closely, they would not be able to see it at all. You say no, but your body is very honest. I'm talking about a woman like you. Baiya did not like the way he described her. It was cold and seemed to be ambiguous, but more like mockery. She also smiled, but her eyes were indifferent. Have you ever heard of this saying? In the case of a great disparity in strength, it is better to enjoy than to resist. You mean, you feel very comfortable? Gu Lingqing asked. Baiya followed his words and said, You served me very well. You have a sharp tongue. Gu Lingqing got up. He was in a good mood and walked towards the bathroom. Baiya sat up and wiped her body. However, there was still his smell on her body, which made her feel uncomfortable. She went back to her room and took a shower again. The shirt she wore earlier was wrinkled. She changed into a JK dress and came out with her suitcase. Gu Lingqing had also come out. He changed into a dark suit and a purple shirt. He had regained his usual elegance and coldness, as if the wildness just now was just a dream. He glanced at her suitcase, and his eyes, which had relaxed because of the relief, became a little colder. You can stay here. It's too far from my workplace. It's not convenient. Baiya wanted to negotiate with him. Which villa near your company do you like? I'll buy it again. Gu Lingqing said in a low voice. I don't lack money. Baiya refused. Take it even if you don't lack money. Your workplace is in the research institute, right? I'll find a house nearby for you. Gu Lingqing said domineeringly. Baiya scrutinized him. He wanted to give her a house because he saw their relationship as one of employment. He used her, and he gave her money. There was no fairness in it, not to mention the continuation of their relationship. She wanted to stand on an equal footing, but the world was not something she could do as she pleased. It was the people who stood on a higher level who could do whatever they wanted. Thank you. Baiya didn't refuse anymore. His eyes became even colder. At most, he would return everything to him after a year. Gu Lingqing stood up. I'm going to the military now. I'll contact you later. Baiya nodded. After Gu Lingqing walked out of the door, she sat on the sofa and looked at the air in silence. The look in her eyes became more and more vague. He rested for an hour, ate lunch outside, and went to the research institute in the afternoon. Mu Xiaoxing's research institute was quite large. It was located in a university and had 4 floors. Mu Xiaoxing was very happy to see her. He greeted her, Did you sleep well last night? So, Baiya replied. He. Mu Xiaoxing was used to Baiya's cold attitude. It was your ex-husband who drove your friend back yesterday, right? He seemed to be very concerned about you and kept asking me about you. Baiya didn't want to know about Su Jiran's situation. My friend was safely sent back to the military, right? She should have been safely sent back to the military, Mu Xiaoxing said with a troubled expression. Baiya heard something strange. What do you mean by should have been safely sent back to the military? The military doesn't allow cars from the outside to enter, so they could only leave your friend at the gate. I wanted to tell you, but I was worried that you would be asleep and it wouldn't be good to wake you up. I thought that you would definitely come to work this morning, so I wanted to tell you at work, Mu Xiaoxing explained. He explained. Bai Ye immediately called Lu Shuang. Lu Shuang only picked up after 5 rings. Shuang Niu, are you okay? Bai Ye asked worriedly. Yeah, I got drunk yesterday. Fortunately, Chief Gu went out for a meeting and came to the military very late. I slept the whole morning, I'm fine. How about you? Lu Shuang asked worriedly. Yeah, I'm already at work. You go ahead with your work. I'll contact you later, Bai Ye said. Don't be late. Let me tell you, there's a party in the military tonight. You can bring your family. Come with me, haha. Help me find someone. If I can't get married, I'll become a leftover female warrior. There are too many leftovers. You're the best. Bai Ye said jokingly. Ha ha ha, well said. I've been working hard and I've been defeated. But I'm puzzled. I'm not bad looking. Although I'm carefree, I'm approachable. My family and work are not bad. Why don't I have a boyfriend? Depressing. Lu Shuang said helplessly. I'll accompany you tonight. That's all for now. I'll go to work first. Bai Ye hung up the phone, pulled out a chair and sat opposite Mu Xiaoxing. Tell me, what do you want me to do? It's like this. I know our small research institute can't keep a swan like you. You came to help me because you kept your promise. I can't take advantage of you for nothing. You just need to handle 24 cases for me. After 24 cases, you'll be free. Take a look at the contract. I'll give you a special contract. Mu Xiaoxing handed the contract to Bai Ye. Bai Ye glanced at it. There was basically no problem. The one-time fee was 1 million. I have 2 questions. Why 24 cases? Bai Ye asked. I feel that 5 years is too much for you. I've only sponsored you for 2 years. So, I'll let you work for me for 2 years. The performance evaluation of the Research Institute is 12 cases a year. So, as long as you complete 24 cases for me, you'll be free, Mu Xiaoxing explained. Cancel the fee. I'll sign the contract, Bai Ye said without hesitation. You don't need the fee. Mu Xiaoxing was surprised. You also said that the 24 cases are just to repay you for 2 years of funding. Since it's funding, then why do you have to charge? Mu Xiaoxing, some favors can't be measured with money. When I first looked for you, I was already at my wit's end. You can help me when I was at my wit's end. This feeling is more precious than 1 million. Bai Ye revealed a smile. Although the smile was faint, it was especially beautiful. Mu Xiaoxing's heart beat faster. Okay, I'll let the personnel department draw up a new contract. I hope after 24 cases, we can still be friends. I'll help if I can. Bai Ye said readily. Lu Shuang called again. Bai Ye answered. Little Bai, does Gu Lingqing know that you're back? It's so strange. He never talked to me for 3 years. Now he asked someone to call me to his office. What's the matter? I'm so scared. Lu Shuang asked worriedly. Chapter 157. Girl Shuang, he might ask you about our past. Remember, you don't know anything, okay? Bai Ye reminded. No way, he's asking about this. Lu Shuang didn't believe it. It's best if he doesn't ask. If he does, just tell him you don't know anything, Bai Ye reminded again. Oh. That's all for now. I'm going to confiscate phones here, Lu Shuang said. He hung up the phone and passed it to Gu Lingqing's orderly. She was brought to Gu Lingqing's office. Gu Lingqing sat in front of his desk, looking at the air and thinking. Sir, Dr. Lu is here, Lieutenant Colonel Song reported. Gu Lingqing came back to her senses. Come in. Lieutenant Colonel Song pushed the door open. Lu Shuang walked in with a confused look and looked at Gu Lingqing in surprise. However, Gu Lingqing was expressionless and her eyes were unfathomable. Lu Shuang couldn't tell what was going on. Sit. Gu Lingqing's simple words were full of pressure. Lu Shuang sat opposite Gu Lingqing. He lowered his head and twisted his fingers. Don't be nervous. I just want to ask you a few questions. How much do you know about me and Baiya? Gu Lingqing asked directly. Lu Shuang opened his eyes wide and looked at Gu Lingqing. His eyeballs were rolling. Little Bai had guessed it right. Gu Lingqing was asking about the matter between him and Little White. Lu Shuang raised his eyebrows. I know a little. Why did we break up? Gu Lingqing asked. Baiya is very tight-lipped. There are many things that she didn't want to bring trouble to her friends. What I know is that you two used to have a good relationship. You loved Baiya very much. Once again, Baiya went missing for a week. During the week that Baiya went missing, you and Su Shaoling got engaged. On the second day of your engagement, Baiya was released. She didn't have her little finger, and you chopped it off. From then on, Baiya became even more eccentric. She even gave up her job and left me to become a prosecutor. I don't know what happened after I left City A. Lu Shuang didn't want to talk about Baiya's suicide. Whenever she thought of it, her heart would ache. I love her very much. Gu Lingqing savored these words and narrowed his eyes. Of course you love her. When you and Baiya met, Baiya was still Su Jiran's wife. You insisted on Baiya being with you. Your love has gone beyond ethics, Lu Shuang said with a sigh. When I was with her, she was still Su Jiran's wife. Gu Lingqing was shocked. He shouldn't be such an irrational person. How could he fall for a married woman? There must be some unknown secrets. Yes, I'm sure of that. When you two had sex for the first time, Baiya hadn't divorced yet. Actually, it's my fault. Su Jiran got hold of my weakness and threatened Baiya not to divorce. Otherwise, you two would have gotten married a long time ago. By the way, there's one more thing you might not know. Baiya and Su Jiran weren't husband and wife, Lu Shuang said straightforwardly. She was a little annoyed that she didn't know much about them at that time. Otherwise, she could give an example to show how much Gu Lingqing loved Baiya. Weren't husband and wife? Gu Lingqing looked down to hide the strange emotion in her eyes. Yes, you often came to see Baiya at that time. Baiya lived at my place. Every time, in order to make space for you, I would make an excuse to go out and play mahjong. Then, you would stay there for the whole night. You can figure out what you would do in the whole night, Lu Shuang hinted. Gu Lingqing cleared her throat. He could imagine what a man and a woman could do alone in the whole night. What else do you know? Gu Lingqing asked. Originally, the military's special recruitment was specially set up for Baiya. I didn't expect Su Shaoling and me to join. Baiya became a prosecutor instead. I don't know anything else. Baiya likes to keep everything in her heart. Chief, why are you asking about this? Lu Shuang asked in confusion. I just want to know something that I don't know, Gu Lingqing said in a deep voice. Oh, Chief, please don't tell Baiya about what I told you. She just told me not to tell you anything and asked me to pretend that I don't know anything, Lu Shuang begged. Gu Lingqing's eyes flashed with fierceness. Pretend that you don't know anything? Lu Shuang saw that Gu Lingqing didn't look good. She was afraid that she would hurt Baiya, so she quickly said, I think Baiya still loves you. She's that kind of person. She wants to save her face. She was the same before. She loved you so much, but she asked me not to tell you. Think about it. If she doesn't love you, why would she be afraid to tell you about the past? She must be hiding something. Gu Lingqing's eyes were dark. She didn't say anything. Lu Shuang asked tentatively, does Chief still like Xiao Bai? After all, you were so in love with each other. You seem to like to ask questions. Gu Lingqing asked calmly, full of dignity. Seeing his attitude, Lu Shuang regretted saying so much. She thought that Gu Lingqing asked her about the past with Bai Ye because he was interested in Bai Ye. It didn't seem like it. Lu Shuang looked at Gu Lingqing worriedly. He wouldn't kill Bai Ye just to erase the past, would he? She had really sinned this time. Chief, don't worry. Xiao Bai is a very tactful person. She might really want to let it go. Lu Shuang changed his words. Gu Lingqing looked at her and glanced at the door. You can leave. Okay. Lu Shuang quickly left. Talking to Gu Lingqing made her feel like she was facing a formidable enemy. Gu Lingqing touched his little finger. It turned out that he cut it off because of her. He really loved her in the past. After Lu Shuang went back, she got the news that those who attended the single-parent party tonight could leave 2 hours earlier. She hurried to pick up Bai Ye. In the car. What did Gu Lingqing ask you? Bai Ye asked worriedly. Well, he asked about his past. How would I know about his past, right? Lu Shuang said guiltily. His eyes flickered, and he didn't dare to look at Bai Ye. You told him everything, didn't you? Bai Ye judged. Lu Shuang knew that he couldn't hide it from Bai Ye. I told him a little. He asked why you broke up. I said I didn't know either. I only said that you used to love each other. Bai Ye frowned. Cool girl, you shouldn't have said that. It's best if I don't have anything to do with him. I know I'm wrong now. I won't say a word in the future. I promise, I swear, if I don't do it, I'll marry the person I hate the most. How about it? Poison me. Lu Shuang begged. Don't say a word wrong in the future. Bai Ye was helpless. Her phone rang with a text message. She took it out and saw that it was a message from Gu Lingqing. It said, I'm staying at Blue Sky Villa tonight. Let's have dinner together. It was a statement, but it sounded like a command. No one could refuse it. Chapter 158. Lu Shuang noticed the strange expression on Bai Ye's face and asked worriedly, what's wrong? Bai Ye put her phone on silent mode and put it in her bag. Nothing, don't worry about it. Okay, help me look for a good candidate. You're an expert in psychology now, so I'll be very relieved with you around, Lu Shuang said happily. She said a lot more, but Bai Ye didn't hear it. She was deep in thought. Gu Lingqing asked about Lu Shuang's past. Based on her understanding of Lu Shuang and Lu Shuang's reaction, she guessed that Lu Shuang would tell her everything he knew, and he would even add fuel to the fire. She understood that Lu Shuang had good intentions, but Lu Shuang's good intentions often led to the wrong things. She was used to it. She guessed that Gu Lingqing must have invited her for dinner to set up a trap to target the lies she had told before. Thinking about it, she felt very stressed. She might as well not go, so that she could have some buffer time. I had my eye on one before. He was a lieutenant colonel in the Special Forces, in charge of training Blue Wolf. He was very handsome, valiant, and had a good figure. He came to see me, and I fell in love with him at first sight. Later on, he often came to give me gifts, and we even went on a date. His father was the captain of a certain branch of the Navy. He was at least a colonel. His mother was the principal of a certain elementary school. His family conditions were very good. I felt that he quite liked me. After dinner, we went to a movie. When he sent me back, he even kissed my face, but I don't know why. But it ended after that, Lu Shuang said regretfully. Either he's a master of EQ, has high IQ, knowledge, and manners, and even if he doesn't like you, he has to maintain the image of a perfect lover. Or, there's a reason why he stopped developing with you, Bai Ye analyzed. Lu Shuang frowned. Could it be that his family didn't agree? Bai Ye smiled. There are many reasons. It all depends on whether you want to develop a relationship with him. Of course I do. He's the only one that I've liked in so many years. He has a good body, good looks, a good character, and a good family background. *CK, I think he just doesn't like me, Lu Shuang said casually. Then find out the reason and solve it. If it's a reason that can be solved, then you can be together. If it's a reason that can't be solved, then just give up. Bai Ye's eyes darkened. He looked out of the window and stopped talking. They didn't go to the military area, as the special forces were not allowed to enter. Instead, they went to a military activity center outside the military area. There was also a club in the activity center. The blind date was organized by the song and dance troupe. There were a lot of people, at least 500. The organizers were very attentive. They had prepared a buffet dinner for everyone to familiarize themselves with. Lu Shuang glanced at them and felt a little disappointed. The one you like didn't come? Bai Ye guessed. Lu Shuang shrugged. Forget it. If he doesn't want to develop a relationship with me because of his family, then it means that he doesn't like me that much. Bai Ye nodded. Obstacles will improve the relationship. When it reaches a certain level, it will become stable. When it reaches a certain level, it will cool down because of the previous obstacles. The cycle will repeat and the other person's good points will become bad points. Relationships are the most fragile. That makes a lot of sense. So, I have to find someone who loves me more than I do. Someone who loves me to death and won't compromise because of age. At most, I'll just grow old proudly. Ha ha ha. Lu Shuang laughed loudly. Bai Ye also smiled. You'll definitely find someone. After they finished eating, they went into the hall. When they went in, the staff at the door gave each person a rose. The men sat together and the women sat together. The method of the blind date was very simple. The host would invite the person up. The person who went up would introduce himself. The content of the introduction would include the following: 1. Love history. 2. Family members. 3. Personality and hobbies. 4. Future prospects. 5. Requirements for future partners. Then, there would be a talent show. After the performance, the person who felt that he or she liked would give flowers. When there were more people giving flowers, the person who went up could ask questions or ask for the other person's talent show. Then, the person who went up could choose the person he or she liked. Bai Ye felt that it was quite interesting. Lu Shuang also signed up enthusiastically. When it was the sixth person, it was Lu Shuang's turn. Lu Shuang went up on stage to introduce herself. My name is Lu Shuang. I'm a doctor, a first lieutenant. Shuang means straightforward. This Shuang just happens to fit my personality. I'm rather straightforward. I'm the only child in my family. My father is a doctor and my mother works in a state-owned enterprise. When it comes to love, if you don't count the 1 week, the crush, and the unsuccessful blind date, then it's really a blank slate. Handsome guys will think that I'm more suitable to be their bro. Actually, I'm really a pure girl. If you don't like it, you can test it. After Lu Shuang said this, the audience burst into laughter. Lu Shuang did not care about the meaning of everyone's laughter. He continued to say, I like singing, I like dancing, and I love China. I hope that I can have at least 2 babies with my future husband. My requirements for my future husband are that he's not a playboy, doesn't fool around, has a strong sense of responsibility, is filial, treats me well, and is handsome. Ha 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 ha. When he said the last point, Lu Shuang was also embarrassed. Well, she was a girl from the Pure Appearance Association. After Lu Shuang finished speaking, he danced a particularly bold and seductive dance. The host said that those who liked cool girls should come and give them flowers. Bai Ye saw a group of men running up the stage. There were at least 50 of them. Lu Shuang was also shocked. He covered his mouth and laughed happily. She was quite popular. Why didn't she have a boyfriend? At the door, a shadow flashed. The cigarette in Shen Yi's hand flickered, and the smoke enchanted his beautiful face. Your Highness, the President asked you to go back. Shen Yi's subordinate lowered his head and said. A sharp light flashed across Shen Yi's dark eyes, and he twisted the cigarette. 3 years ago, he was still an unruly young man, but now he had become more and more stable, introverted, and domineering. He strode towards the door. A group of subordinates followed him. He looked ahead sharply and ordered, watch carefully. Pluck as many peach blossoms as there are. After the election, see how I will deal with her. Yes. The subordinate lowered his head in fear. Bai Ye's phone vibrated violently. She was also guilty and vaguely afraid. She took out her phone from her bag. Gu Lingqing had called her 3 times, but she did not answer any of them. It was conceivable that Gu Lingqing, who had a hot temper, must be very angry now. She was about to put her phone back when a text message came in. It was from Gu Lingqing. If you don't call back in 3 minutes, you will bear the consequences. She put her phone back into her bag. Several tall and strong men stood in front of her. Lieutenant Colonel Song walked out and reminded her, Ms. Bai, the chief is very angry. You should have called back. Chapter 159. F***CK Gu Lingqing did it on purpose. He knew where she was. What else could he do? He even tested her on purpose. However, she fell into his trap, so she was annoyed. She was like a clown, but he was the one who wanted to see her make a fool of herself. She couldn't escape at all, so she could only follow Lieutenant Colonel Song to the car. Lieutenant Colonel Song drove. How did Gu Lingqing know I was here? Bai Ye asked in confusion. Nowadays, phones have GPS. With just a word from the chief, your location will be sent to the chief's phone within a few seconds, Lieutenant Colonel Song explained. When did you arrive at the hall? Bai Ye asked. Not long ago, Lieutenant Colonel Song said simply, but you didn't pick up the chief's call on purpose. How can I not report this? Just say that I didn't see it, Bai Ye said. Lieutenant Colonel Song was expressionless. According to the chief's principles, not reporting what you know is a big crime. So, you reported it? Bai Ye had a bad feeling. When you put away your phone, I already reported it in real time. Lieutenant Colonel Song didn't hide it. Bai Ye knocked her forehead on the back of the seat. Gu Lingqing must be furious. He must be so furious that he was about to explode. She looked out of the window in annoyance and sighed. She still felt annoyed. Lieutenant Colonel Song looked at Bai Ye and said in a deep voice, the chief is very busy. I advise you not to make him angry. I already did. Do you have any good ideas? Bai Ye asked. Lieutenant Colonel Song was silent for a while. I've been with the chief for 3 years and this is the first time I've seen him like a woman. He doesn't like me. He wants to know about the past, Bai Ye retorted. Why can't he know about his past? Lieutenant Colonel Song's tone became colder. Bai Ye's eyes darkened. He could know about his past, but what if these things didn't help him at all? If her feelings were blank, it would be blank. Even if it wasn't blank, all that was left was pain. The cut on her little finger started to hurt again. She didn't say anything else. She calmed herself down and calmed down, sinking into a boundless desolation. An hour later, Bai Ye was sent to the blue sky courtyard. Gu Lingqing sat on the sofa in a bad mood. He tightened his jaw and puffed on his cigarette. The thick smoke blurred his grave and stern face, making it even more difficult for people to see his expression at this moment. Bai Ye walked in, and the door closed behind her with a bang. It was like a blow to her heart. She walked towards Gu Lingqing and sat down opposite him. Who allowed you to sit? Gu Lingqing said coldly. Bai Ye frowned and stood up. Why didn't you pick up the phone? Gu Lingqing questioned. His eyes were extremely cold. Bai Ye was also annoyed by his domineering attitude. Why do you think I should accept it? I'm not your subordinate, nor am I your wife. I'm not someone you can order around. Gu Lingqing stood up and Bai Ye stepped back subconsciously. Gu Lingqing held her chin. Just because you lied to me, I can ask you anything I want. Bai Ye pushed Gu Lingqing's hand away. Why did I lie to you? The reason why we broke up or the reason why my finger was chopped off? Yes, you loved me very much at that time, but so what? Now that you've forgotten everything, am I not allowed to come out from this shadow? Gu Lingqing looked at her with his dark eyes, and his chest was heaving up and down violently. Apart from these, what else? What else do you want to know? Bai Ye looked straight at him. Gu Lingqing's chin was clenched. She had done something wrong, so where did she get the confidence to be rational and strong? Flames danced in his eyes, burning away all the remaining warmth, and they became dark and cold. You're not my type. You're arrogant and dark. Too much arrogance is annoying. You don't know how to be tactful, and you're not easy to get along with. I'm very surprised. How could I like you like that? Gu Lingqing said sharply. His every word and every sentence was like a sharp knife stabbing into her heart, revealing some truths that she didn't want to admit or believe. Back then, Gu Lingqing had provoked her not because he liked her, but because he felt guilty. He was such a responsible person. He felt that it was all his fault for forcing her to live a bad life. So, he wanted to save her and make it up to her, even sacrificing his marriage and happiness. So, when he was hurt, he selectively lost his memory about his past with her. Why did he remember Zhou Hailan and forget her? This was also a portrayal of his heart. He didn't want to cry, and he didn't want to get hurt again. But he thought too thoroughly, and his heart was too cold. The heat flowed out of his body along with his tears. Maybe, you don't like me that much, Gu Lingqing. Let bygones be bygones. You have a bright future ahead of you. Even if you don't get together with Su Shaoling, you can still find a girl you like. Let me go, let yourself go, Bai Ye said with tears streaming down her face. Her tears made his heart very uncomfortable, as if there was something pulling at him, making his heart ache. He was too angry just now, so he leaned over and kissed her lips. Bai Ye subconsciously rejected him and turned her face away. A cold light flashed across his eyes, and he pressed the back of her head, intensifying the kiss. Strong, domineering, and not letting her back down. Bai Ye was instantly annoyed and pushed him hard. 3 years ago, he had forced her heart like this, and the result? The result? Despair, suicide. She didn't want to do it again. She didn't want to fall in love with Gu Lingqing again. She slapped his face. The sound of the slap was exceptionally loud. Gu Lingqing stared at her, and the corner of his lips curled up coldly. Like a ferocious beast, he pounced on her and tore her clothes. Ah! Bai Ye struggled like crazy. Gu Lingqing held her wrist and pressed it on top of her head, while his other hand tore her pants. Bai Ye didn't like Gu Lingqing. She really didn't like such a cold-blooded person. When he tore her pants, she heard the voice of despair in her heart again. She said angrily, "Do you have to force me to my death?" Gu Lingqing looked down at her with a sharp gaze. Why not? What kind of woman am I in the eyes of the chief? As long as a man comes, will I open my mouth and let you have sex with me? Bai Ye asked. I thought we had an agreement, Gu Lingqing said coldly. Use your power to force me. Or force me. Bai Ye said sarcastically. Didn't you say it was comfortable? Gu Lingqing furrowed his brows. Bai Ye turned her face away. Her mind was in a mess, so much so that she couldn't calm down and think. Gu Lingqing's gaze softened. Don't move. I'll be gentler. Why do you have to do it with me? Bai Ye asked in confusion. Didn't you say that I'm not your type? Why do you have to hold on to your past mistakes? Because I feel comfortable too. Chapter 160. This reason really made him want to vomit blood. You can find any woman who can make you feel comfortable. Baya frowned. He didn't like it when she pushed him to others. He couldn't tell why, but there was a flash of light in his eyes. I'm looking for you. He was domineering. She couldn't do anything about it. He kissed her lips and entered her mouth forcefully. His big palm went under the hem of her clothes. Her skin was cold, and there was a hint of coldness. Pity flowed in his heart. Was this woman not in good health? So cold. He subconsciously used the warmth of his palm to warm her blood. He wasn't as rough as he was at the beginning. He kissed her lips downwards, undid the button on her back, and lifted her clothes. He lowered his head. Baya let out a soft moan as he kissed her. The temperature of his mouth was very high, but it made her feel very comfortable, as if her blood was flowing and her bodily functions were recovering. She vaguely found a little shadow of the past Gu Lingqing on him at this moment. Her eyes were stained with mist, and there was a little more emotion in them. Gu Lingqing first tested her to make sure that she could do it, then he slowly, Baya saw that he didn't seem to be using birth control products, so she hurriedly reminded him, I'm not in my safe period. Gu Lingqing responded with a deep voice, and looked at her with his deep eyes. Baya wasn't unrestrained. On the contrary, she was very shy, and even her breathing was suppressed and light. But when she opened her mouth, frowned, and looked like ripples, he felt that she was very beautiful. He wanted to see the changes in her expression under different rhythms, so he sat on the sofa. Her gaze was too focused, as if she wanted to absorb him into her eyes. Baya was too embarrassed to look at him. She lay on his shoulder, and her breath fell on his ear. His heart moved, and he held her chin with his thumb and forefinger, making her face him. Her gaze was very unfocused, as if shrouded in a mysterious veil. Her face was red, and she was charming. We used to be like this, right? Gu Lingqing asked in a hoarse voice. Baya didn't want to be completely controlled by him, so she held his chin and kissed his lips. His lips were also very hot, like the sun, emitting hot blood. In the past, in order to keep warm, she kept getting closer and closer until she was reborn. This time, she could not be greedy. After a while, Baya let go. However, Gu Lingqing was not satisfied. He pressed the back of her neck and continued to kiss her. He kissed her until he couldn't control his rationality anymore. He turned the tables and wanted her violently. He went to the bathroom to take a shower while Baya rested on the sofa. However, she felt that it was too insecure every time he came out. What if there was another Xiaobao's treasure? She couldn't afford any more mistakes in her life. She has to go to the hospital tomorrow to get in for. Her phone rang. It was Lu Shuang. She picked it up when she got up and went to her room to take a shower. Little White, where are you? I went backstage to cultivate my relationship with the boyfriend I just met. When I came out, you weren't there. Lu Shuang looked around and said. I have something to do, so I have to go now. Did your blind date go well? Baya filled the bathtub with hot water. Not bad, I picked one for me and I think he's not bad. I got to know him a little, so let's talk about dating in the future. I'll bring him out tomorrow and you can give me some advice, Lu Shuang said in a good mood. I'll take a shower first. I'll contact you tomorrow. Baya hung up the phone and lay in the bathtub. The warm water flowed through her body, relieving the pain in her muscles. She was a little sleepy and closed her eyes. In a daze, she heard Gu Lingqing's voice. Did you fall asleep in the bathtub out of habit? Baya opened her eyes and didn't answer him. Gu Lingqing passed the towel to her. You have a cold body and it's not good for your body to soak in cold water for a long time. You're still young and can't feel it, but when you get older, you'll be full of illnesses. Weren't you a doctor? Don't you know this? Baya took the towel from his hand and wrapped it around her body. She got out of the bathtub and replied, "You know a lot about women. It's basic knowledge. My mother pays attention to her health, so I know a thing or two." Gu Lingqing added the last two sentences. He didn't know why, but he didn't want her to misunderstand his relationship with other women. Baya's heart skipped a beat. There was a ripple in her heart. She cleared her throat and deliberately ignored him. She changed the topic and asked, "Have you eaten yet?" "What do you think?" Gu Lingqing asked back. His eyes were dark and it was obvious that he was suppressing his anger. Baya didn't expect that he had been waiting for her. "I'll heat it up for you. Someone's hot. You can just accompany me to eat." Gu Lingqing walked towards her. "I've already eaten." Baya rejected him. He hugged her waist and looked down at her. "If I ask you to accompany me, then accompany me. It can be a midnight snack after you've eaten. You're too skinny. You don't have any meat at all. Didn't you say that I feel comfortable?" Baya threw out his words to deliberately block him. "I said that I feel comfortable in my heart," Gu Lingqing replied casually. After saying that, he paused for a moment. Feeling comfortable in his heart meant that he was treating her with his heart and not his kidneys. Baya could tell that too. She was a little flustered. She felt that his hand on her waist was abnormally hot. She took his hand away. "I'm going to change." Gu Lingqing didn't go out. Baya took the clothes and looked at him. "What are you looking at?" "Go change," Gu Lingqing said in a deep voice. Baya nodded and glanced at the door. "You go out." Gu Lingqing crossed his arms in front of his chest and leaned against the door frame. His eyes were dark, and because his expression was serious, his words were also serious. "Which part of your body haven't I seen or touched? Tell me, and I'll fill them all in." Baya was angry, but she laughed instead. When did General become a rascal? Baya was speechless. She turned her back to him and untied the towel. Gu Lingqing walked behind her and brushed her hair to the right side of her face. The hair brushed past her back and fell softly on her shoulder. It was a little ticklish. Baya looked up at him. He looked at her with a deep gaze and asked very seriously, "Have I never been a rascal to you in the past?" Baya didn't dare to recall the past. She retracted her gaze and neatly put on the clothes inside. The present is so beautiful, and the future is even better. Don't always be trapped in the past. There are some things that others can't forget even if they want to. General is very lucky. She kept calling him General, which made him feel uncomfortable. Change the way you address me. What did you call me in the past? Brother Qing. Baya felt that the current Gu Lingqing was quite self-righteous. Gu Lingqing. He was not satisfied with this form of address. Call me by my full name. Call me Brother Qing. Call me Brother Qing and you'll have meat to eat. Gu Lingqing lifted her chin and made her face him. Call me that. Baya was thin-skinned. She pushed his hand away. I don't like to eat meat. Chapter 161. Baya felt that Gu Lingqing had changed a lot. He wasn't so straightforward in the past. After all, he was a mature person. He had a strong understanding ability and it was easy for his thoughts to go astray. Some jokes could add fuel to the fire and make the other person blush. There was a kind of love flowing between the two of them. Baya was a little embarrassed. She pretended not to understand. Didn't you say we're going to eat? Let's go. She changed her clothes quickly and walked out of the room. She didn't notice the slight smile on Gu Lingqing's face. He seemed to be in a good mood. Baya had just sat at the dining table when Gu Lingqing's phone rang. He picked up the call and his expression changed. I know, I'm coming over now. What's wrong? Baya sensed that something was wrong. Something happened in the military. I have to rush back now, Gu Lingqing said in a low voice. He picked up his coat from the hanger. Baiya looked at the dishes on the table. Aren't you going to eat dinner? It's too late. You have my phone number. Call me if you need anything, Gu Lingqing said simply and turned to leave. Lieutenant Colonel Song opened the door and Gu Lingqing strode out. Baiya followed him to the door. The soldiers stood by the door respectfully. Gu Lingqing leaned forward and entered the car with a serious expression. She only saw his sturdy car, and then his car sped away. She guessed that something had happened to Gu Lingqing in the military. He had never told her about his affairs. She had no right to ask in the past. Now, she had no right to ask. However, Gu Lingqing was a good soldier. He was righteous. He didn't even eat dinner because of the military matters. Baiya turned around. Once Gu Lingqing left, she was the only one left in the spacious villa. It was empty. She was too afraid of such loneliness. Before she had any emotional problems, she quickly took her medicine and lay on the bed. She spent the night until dawn. She opened her eyes. She was still alive. He got out of bed, brushed his teeth, washed his face, and changed into bright clothes. Then, he took a taxi to the hospital. When she was in the taxi, she thought that she should buy a car so that it would be more convenient for her to go anywhere. When she arrived at the hospital, she registered for the gynecology department. After registering, she waited patiently in the waiting area. A woman came out of the gynecologist's office. She looked terrible. Although they had not met for more than 3 years, Baiya recognized that the woman was Su Shaoling at a glance. If she remembered correctly, Su Shaoling should be working in the military now. She was also a doctor. Why did she come here? Did she get sick? Baiya walked into the gynecology department. She knew the gynecologist, who was her former colleague. Sister Ing. When Sister Ing saw Baiya, she was very happy. After all, they had a good relationship in the past. Baiya, why are you back? Baiya bit the document in her hand. I came to get a ring. I came to see who was on duty. Hee hee. Oh, I'll write a list for you first so that you don't have to wait. I heard that you became a prosecutor later. Why are you so courageous? You gave up being a deputy director and became a prosecutor who is not a professional at all. In the hospital, you are the only one I admire, Sister Ing said with a smile and wrote the list. She wrote the document and passed it to Baiya. I didn't become a prosecutor after that. I only did it for half a year before I went abroad to further my studies. I'm a psychologist now and I'm currently working in a research institute. Maybe, I'll open a clinic later. Baiya exchanged simple pleasantries and took the document from Sister Ing. I really, really admire you. Now, you're a psychologist. It's the most popular profession now. You earn a lot and it's easy. We're working hard in the hospital now. We often have to work overtime and we have to get complaints often. It's really stressful. Not long ago, there was an incident of a doctor being hacked at the secondary hospital. I even know that doctor. I'm so depressed. I'm about to enter menopause, Sister Ing complained. Sister Ing, you're so beautiful and kind-hearted. If you enter menopause, how are we going to live? Baiya said with a smile. Alright, don't comfort an old woman like me. I still have some work to do. When we're free, let's have a gathering. Yeah, it's my treat. Oh yeah, Sister Ing, what happened to that girl just now? She didn't look too good, Baiya probed. She's having a messy private life. Other than common gynecological diseases, she also has syphilis. It's already in the 2nd stage. It's quite serious, Sister Ing said. Baiya frowned and her face turned pale. Su Shaoling was Gu Lingqing's fiancée and she had a relationship with Gu Lingqing. She had a bad feeling. Sister Ing, give me another document. I'll check it too. What's wrong? Sister Ing widened her eyes and looked at Baya. Baya smiled. There's nothing wrong with checking more. An hour and a half later, Baya put on the birth control ring and got all the reports. She was normal and healthy. In the future, it would be safer to be with Gu Lingqing so that she wouldn't be infected. Was Gu Lingqing infected now? Or did Gu Lingqing infect Su Shaoling? No, Gu Lingqing had always been clean. If he only had Su Shaoling, he wouldn't have gotten this disease. Could it be that Gu Lingqing had other women? Or Su Shaoling had another man? Baya called back to the research institute in a daze. The more she thought about it, the more scared she was. Gu Lingqing liked to force himself on her, but he didn't like to wear it. She wanted to refuse, but she couldn't resist. For safety's sake, she sent a message to Gu Lingqing to remind him. Remember to wear it no matter what, or you'll get sick. Gu Lingqing replied very quickly. Are you sick? Baya was furious when she saw this. You're the one who's sick. I suggest you get it checked first. Just as she sent the message, Gu Lingqing called. What do you mean? His voice was sinister and he showed off his bad temper. It was as if he would kill her if she said anything wrong. Well, I just came out of the hospital. The tests are all good, Baya said. That's good. Gu Lingqing complimented her out of the blue. Baya was a little uneasy. It was as if she was asking for praise. I've seen a lot of women suffering from various diseases. People nowadays are easily impetuous and tempted by too many temptations. It's better to be careful when you're in a high position, Baya said tactfully. Gu Lingqing heard the hint in her words. He was in a good mood a second ago, but the next second, anger filled his eyes. As long as you're not sick, I won't be sick. That's all. He hung up the phone coldly. As long as she wasn't sick, he wouldn't be sick. Was he provoking her, cursing her, or? Baya's heart raced. Was he hinting that she was his only woman? Chapter 162. At the entrance of the research institute, Baya was still deep in thought. If Gu Lingqing only had one woman, why did Su Shaoling get a gynecological disease and even contract syphilis? Did she have another man? Pretty lady, you're here, the driver shouted. Baya came back to her senses and said, oh. She glanced at the meter, paid the fare, and got out of the car. What kind of nonsense was she thinking? Even if Su Shaoling had another man, what did it have to do with her? However, 3 years had really changed a lot of people. Things remained the same, but people had changed. Baya walked into the research institute and saw Mu Shaoxing throwing a tantrum. How did you guys graduate? When there's nothing going on, you guys brag like gods, but when there's trouble, no one dares to accept it. Didn't our research institute have an authoritative figure in the industry? This matter can only be handled by an authoritative figure, someone said. Why do I need you guys to handle everything? Why don't you guys go back and eat yourselves? Mu Shaoxing said angrily. Baya walked to the door of the conference room and knocked gracefully. Mu Shaoxing looked at Baya with a troubled expression. He wanted to say something but stopped. Baya smiled and said, say it, I'll take it. Mu Shaoxing seemed to be holding on to a life-saving straw. At this time, only you can save me from this crisis. Come to my office. Mu Shaoxing walked out of the conference room and returned to his office. He threw some photos to Baya. Baya saw that it was a European-style castle, a miniature version. It was built with bricks that were no longer used. The castle was surrounded by creepers. Because of the age, the plants grew wildly, making the castle look a little strange. In the second photo, a tall man died in the room. His body was curled up, his fingers were clenched very tightly, and his expression was twisted with pain. This man is Xiong Jinping, the younger brother of Xiong Daini. He is now the mayor of Pingyan City. He died in this castle. He was killed in a secret room. There were no wounds on his body. After the autopsy, we found that his brain was congested. He died of fear. There were no toxins in his body. Mu Shaoxing explained. Baya looked at the third photo. It was also a man who had died in a room. He was lying on the ground, clutching his own neck. His eyes were bloodshot, and his death was horrifying. This person's name is Xiong Jiqing, Lieutenant Colonel, an instructor in the Special Military Region. It looks like he strangled himself, but in fact, he died of fear. Both of them died yesterday. Now, the higher-ups want a verdict within a week. My research institute has no choice but to accept it, Mu Shaoxing said helplessly. Baya understood. The greater the ability, the greater the responsibility. The higher the reputation, the more important face is. Bearing the glory comes with pressure. Your research institute is one of the top in the country. It should be able to bear the pressure. Don't be sarcastic. I'll leave this matter to you. I'll pay all the expenses for the business trip. You can stay in the presidential suite as you like. I'll give you a subsidy of 1,000 yuan a day for your hard work. As long as you can solve the case, I'll definitely pay for it. Mu Shaoxing said kindly. Am I going with the people from the police station now? Baya asked. The police station is taking this very seriously. They've hired an expert with a high salary. His name is Ling Qiuzuan. His nickname is the Lord. He'll bring an assistant with him. In addition, there will be 2 police officers accompanying him. There will be a total of 5 of you. The Lord will be the team leader. Ling Qiuzuan. I've heard of him. He's very famous. He's low-key. Other than solving cases, he's almost isolated from the outside world. It's great to have the opportunity to meet the legendary god, Baya said with a smile. Maybe you're a goddess in his heart. Your international reputation is no less than his, Mu Shaoxing complimented. Baya didn't say anything else. She went back to pack her luggage and went to the police station. She didn't tell Gu Lingqing that she was going on a business trip. When a general is outside, he doesn't obey military orders. However, she had to inform Lu Shuang. Girl, I'm going on a business trip. We can't meet for the time being. Ah, you're so busy with work. You have to go on a business trip as soon as you come back. That Mu Shaoxing is too harsh, Lu Shuang complained. It's good that the mission is completed. I'll contact you when I come back, Baya said apologetically. Well, by the way, I want to tell you something. Something happened in our military region last night. An officer was killed. At the same time, another officer died in the faraway Pingyan city. The key is that the one who died in Pingyan city didn't have a vacation. He went out without permission, disobeying the emperor's order. The chief is very angry. After all, murder in the special military region is not a trivial matter. It means that there's a problem with the security system. If a spy sneaks in, it's not a trivial matter. Anyway, it's a very serious matter. It even happened when the chief is electing the president. Now this news is temporarily blocked. These few days, I have to behave with my tail between my legs. I can't talk to you anymore. I have to do something first. Lu Shuang hung up the phone. Baya put away her phone. No wonder Gu Lingqing left with a serious expression last night. Could Xiong Jiqing's death be related to the person who died in the military region? If she could find out, it could be considered as indirectly helping Gu Lingqing. She went back to pack her luggage and went to the police station. Ling Qiuzuan was already in the car. She was the last one to arrive. Baya got on the police bus and saw the legendary Ling Qiuzuan. He looked about 35 years old. He was wearing a black trench coat. He was tall and thin and wore a hat. He had a triangular face and a sharp single eyelid. He looked very fierce. There was a needless sharpness in his eyes. When he looked at people, he was full of lethality. He was a handsome man. He was not easy to get along with. This was Bai Ya's judgment. Therefore, she didn't take the initiative to greet him and sat in her seat. Bai Ya. Ling Qiuzuan called her first. His voice was especially deep and it was very recognizable. Bai Ya glanced at Ling Qiuzuan and the corners of her lips curled up slightly. Mr. Leng just came from the airport. He was in a hurry when he left and was hit by a little girl who was drinking milk tea. The little girl's mother was very angry. She thought that you were a strange uncle and even said that she would bring you to the police station. When you got angry, you brought the mother and the little girl to the police station together. Ling Qiuzuan pursed his lips and didn't say a word. He fixed his gaze on Bai Ya, his eyes shining with a gloomy light. Ling Qiuzuan's assistant was very surprised. How did you know? I saw the label on Mr. Leng's luggage when I was putting it in. The flight to City A at 11 a.m. It's only 12:30 a.m. now. It'll take an hour to get here from the airport. This means that you were in a hurry. As a result, there are some milk stains on your clothes. At this height, it should be a little girl. When I came here, a middle-aged woman was walking away with a little girl. She was cursing and saying that he was a pervert. He didn't have to rush for a flight. I got in the car and saw that there was still hostility in Mr. Leng's eyes, Bai Ya explained. Are you deliberately showing off? Ling Qiuzuan said bluntly. Bai Ya wasn't angry at all. When you called me, there was doubt in your eyes. You wanted to know what I'm capable of. I'm just following your wishes, aren't I? Ling Qiuzuan didn't say anything. Bai Ya's phone rang. She saw that it was a text message from Gu Lingqing. He said concisely, GXXX, get in coach 12. I'm here. Chapter 163. GXXX, get into coach 12, I'm here. While they were in the car, Bai Ya kept thinking about this sentence in her mind. Did Gu Lingqing know that she was going to Pingyan City? Ms. Bai, Ms. Bai. Ling Qiuzuan's assistant nudged Bai Ya. Bai Ya came back to her senses and looked at her assistant. What's wrong? My husband wants to talk to you, Ling Qiuzuan's assistant reminded him. Bai Ya then looked at Ling Qiuzuan. Ling Qiuzuan was in a very bad mood. He pulled a long face, his eyes were cold, and his anger was wanton. He said sarcastically, you are more arrogant than the rumors say. I'll meditate when I'm thinking about something, Bai Ya explained. Whether the other party believed her or not, it was none of her business. Ling Qiuzuan turned his face away, as if he did not want to talk to him anymore. Who was the arrogant one? Ling Qiuzuan's assistant smiled awkwardly and said, my husband said that Xiong Jiqing and Xiong Jinping have never been to Pingyan City. On the surface, they don't seem to know each other, and they don't exchange letters on the internet. The only thing they have in common is that they both went to bed together. People website. What do you think of this? I don't know for the time being. I've just come into contact with this case, Bai Ya said and lowered his eyes. Because it involved the special forces, she didn't want to make any rash comments to avoid unnecessary trouble. You don't deserve your reputation, Ling Qiuzuan said contemptuously with the corner of his mouth curling upwards in a sarcastic manner. Bai Ya glanced at Ling Qiuzuan. He didn't even look at her. Bai Ya smiled faintly. According to psychology, people who are quick with their words are usually hiding their inferiority complex or guilty conscience. Which one is Mr. Leng? Ling Qiuzuan looked at Bai Ya darkly. His pupils were constricted, making him look extremely sharp. Do you think I'll feel inferior or guilty? From the moment I got on the car, you wanted to know what I was capable of enjoying such a great reputation. You always looked at me with a judgmental and provocative gaze. From another perspective, you were worried that I would perform better than you, so you tested me, and tested me again. This is not an expression of guilt. Do you want to see it now? Bai Ya said casually. Nonsense, ignorant junior, Ling Qiuzuan said coldly. Mr. Leng is indeed talented. You have clear rules and excellent analysis. Although you don't show your face often, you have enjoyed the praise of the world. However, you are too greedy for praise. It reminds me of the famous general in history, Bai Qi. Bai Ye said with a smile. Bai Qi? Looks like you've done a lot of research on me. I won't argue with you. He closed his eyes and said no more. Bai Ye had never studied him at all, so he couldn't be bothered to argue with him. She only took on this case to repay his kindness. After driving for half an hour, they arrived at the South Railway Station. The station master sent them their tickets. They were all GXXX. They had priority to enter the station. Bai Ye glanced at the coach on the ticket. It was coach number 6. She didn't want others to know about her relationship with Gu Lingqing, so she followed everyone to coach number 6. Coach number 6 was a first-class seat. She had just sat down when her phone rang. She saw that it was still a message from Gu Lingqing, so she opened it. Do you want me to send someone to invite you? Gu Lingqing's tone was overbearing and domineering. Bai Ye replied helplessly, I just got on the train, so I came over after a while. She kept her phone and asked the train attendant, how long does it take to get to Pingyan from here? 6 hours and 20 minutes. We'll arrive at around 21:30, the attendant said with a smile. Bai Ye nodded. She picked up her bag and walked towards the coach at the back. Where are you going? Ling Qiuzuan asked. I have something to do. I'll come at 2100 hours, Bai Ye said simply. Ling Qiuzuan snorted. She arrived at coach number 12. There were 4 soldiers outside the door of coach number 12. They seemed to know her as they knocked on the door. Come in, Gu Lingqing said in a low voice. The soldiers pushed the door open and Bai Ye walked in. Gu Lingqing was browsing on the computer, very focused. His brows were slightly furrowed, and he looked especially cold. You're going to Pingyan too? Bai Ye asked first. Gu Lingqing threw the information in his hand to her, but his eyes were still on the computer. Bai Ye sat on the sofa and looked at the information that Gu Lingqing threw to her. It was Xiong Jiqing's information and Xiong Chang'an's information, as well as all the previous interactions between the two of them. Bai Ye read all of them. The last page showed that both of them had logged onto the same adult website when she was on vacation. Xiong Jinping also logged onto the same adult website. Bai Ye found the common characteristic of the 3 of them and looked at Gu Lingqing. He looked at her coldly and questioned, You didn't want to tell me when you went to Pingyan City for a business trip, did you? Bai Ye didn't expect him to bring up the past at this time. I didn't have time to tell you, did I? You sent me a message. Really? Gu Lingqing didn't believe her at all. He smiled slightly. There was more than an hour between the time you confirmed that you were going to Pingyan and the time I sent you a message. You didn't even have time to send me a message. Bai Ye knew that she couldn't hide it from Gu Lingqing. She looked down. Are you that busy with work? If you're that busy, you still have time to send me a message to see a doctor? Gu Lingqing exposed her lie without leaving any room for negotiation. Bai Ye realized that Gu Lingqing was simply a logic freak. This is my job. I don't have to report to you one by one. You didn't tell me about your work either, did you? Gu Lingqing stood up. Bai Ye instinctively stood up as well. He walked towards her. Suddenly, Bai Ye felt the pressure increase. He put his arm around her waist and pulled her in front of him. You know very well whether it's about work or whether you're avoiding me on purpose. However, I can tell you very clearly that as long as I don't let go of you, there's no way you can avoid me. This trip to Pingyan is meant to be a gift to you. This trip to Pingyan is to give you a heads up. You're going to Pingyan because of me? Bai Ye was surprised. Her heart was beating extremely fast. You don't know how to do things, but you think too much. Xiong Jiqing and Xiong Chang'an are both members of my special forces. This is not a trivial matter. I must get to the bottom of it, Gu Lingqing said expressionlessly. His eyes were dark and without any color. You don't need to personally deal with this case, do you? Bai Ye said in a low voice. It's good that you know. Gu Lingqing's meaningful words made Bai Ye's heart, which had just calmed down a little, jump wildly again. Could it be that he knew that she was going to Ping Yan, so he also came to Ping Yan, come to work? Gu Lingqing didn't give her time to let her imagination run wild. He hugged her and sat down in front of his computer. Bai Ye looked at the computer. Gu Lingqing entered the website. An adult website appeared in front of her. Chapter 164. Bai Ye felt uneasy and didn't look at the screen. Don't you think it's better for your subordinates to do this job? They've already done it. They didn't find anything, Gu Lingqing said coldly. I might not have found anything. Bai Ye resisted. It wasn't that she hadn't seen it before. Lu Shuang wanted it on his computer. It was just that she didn't want to watch it with him. You'll know if you found anything after you watch it, Gu Lingqing said. Gu Lingqing said. He clicked on one of the videos and looked at the screen seriously. In this video, all three of them have seen it before. You've seen it? Bai Ye asked. There was a strange feeling in her heart. Gu Lingqing was expressionless. Not yet. But prepare to watch it now. Don't be distracted. Look at the screen. Bai Ye, his words made it seem like she wasn't pure. Bai Ye looked at the screen. A woman and two men in the wilderness. It was high definition and uncensored. Bai Ye knew that it was work, but she was too embarrassed to watch it with him. She picked up the mineral water bottle on the table, opened it and drank 2 mouthfuls. Gu Lingqing glanced at her without batting an eyelid. Haven't you and I watched this kind of video before? You never watched this kind of video before, Bai Ye said. Was I that boring in the past? Gu Lingqing asked. Bai Ye, more or less, she said perfunctorily. How many times a week did we do it before? Gu Lingqing's topic was getting deeper and deeper. Bai Ye gulped down a few mouthfuls of water. I don't remember. She felt that the words, I don't remember, were too perfunctory. She added, we didn't have many chances to meet in the past. You were very busy with work, so we couldn't count it in weeks. You have a lot of complaints against me? Gu Lingqing guessed. His words made it seem like she really wanted it. Bai Ye didn't want to continue this topic. Chief, don't you need to work anymore? Gu Lingqing looks at her deeply, as if he has confirmed the answer. That gaze made Bai Ye feel uncomfortable. She looked at the computer screen and suddenly saw some problems, so she paused the screen. She paused the entire scene of the man and woman together. Bai Ye deliberately ignored them. Did you find anything? Gu Lingqing asked. Bai Ye took out the photos from her bag and compared them. The title of this video is The Wilderness, but it's not the wilderness at all. It's inside the castle. It's just that because of the black background, we thought it was night time. Look. Bai Ye drew out a part of the black color and vaguely saw the analysis between the black bricks. Vaguely. It's on the photo, it's on the screen. You mean, they all saw this video, and then they all saw the castle, so they all went to the castle? Gu Lingqing frowned. Bai Ye didn't say anything. She played the video to the end. The woman was eating her fingers and said in a very sweet voice, will you come and find me? I will always wait for you in this place. I remember your information said that they only read it when they were on vacation. Could it be that they drove to the castle and something unexpected happened? I think this woman is a clue. You'd better find out who she is immediately and get someone to investigate it. Bai Ye suggested. Gu Lingqing made a call. Help me find someone. I'll send you the photo. Through facial recognition, you should be able to find out who it is, right? Bai Ye watched as Gu Lingqing sent the face to the mailbox after asking the question. There are a few others. They watched the videos together. You can watch them too, Gu Lingqing said and clicked on the next video. Gu Lingqing, don't you think that your subordinates are a little? Baiya looked at Gu Lingqing with difficulty. It's a man's nature. It's not training time. It's inevitable when you're on vacation. It's abnormal if you don't watch it, Gu Lingqing said in a low voice. Baiya looked at him strangely. Did he mean, he watched it too? She felt cramped. Gu Lingqing suddenly closed the computer. Baiya didn't understand. What's wrong? She turned her head to look at him. Her heart skipped a beat when she met his lustful eyes. She quickly stood up. But it was too late. Gu Lingqing held her waist and brought her to the side of the bed. Baiya felt hot. She tried to pry open his fingers. We're on the train now. My soldiers are guarding outside. Not even a fly can fly in. What are you afraid of? Aren't you blaming me for being too busy with work and not having time for a week? Gu Lingqing said. His voice was hoarse, right beside her ear. How am I blaming you for not having time for a week? Chief, you've misunderstood. Baiya wanted to get up. Gu Lingqing pressed her down on the bed and looked down at her. With our relationship, do you think I won't be angry if you keep calling me chief? You don't have to be angry over such a small matter. The Prime Minister has a big belly. You should be more tolerant than the Prime Minister. Baiya flattered him and pushed his shoulders. Gu Lingqing held her hand and pressed it against the side of her face. I won't be angry with you if you call me chief. But if you keep rejecting me, I will. Baiya's heart trembled. There was a strange palpitation in her heart. He was too straightforward. Being straightforward, she didn't have any room to refuse. He lowered his head and kissed her lips. Baiya didn't want to, but she also knew that if she resisted, Gu Lingqing would be ruthless and hurt her. He didn't go through a long process before he took her. She shouldn't have been prepared, but her reaction afterwards made her feel ashamed. She wanted more but was too embarrassed to say it. She looked at him with a layer of desire. That kind of Baiya was real and beautiful. Gu Lingqing kissed her lips fiercely. If you reject me again, I won't let you come. His tone was fierce, but his actions were very doting. He went out to rest for a while and controlled his urges. When she climbed to the top, he would really care about her feelings. After that, Baiya was sweating all over. Can I take a shower here? There's no hot water, but there's cold water. It's not good to take a cold shower. I'll get someone to boil some water and send it over later, Gu Lingqing said. Baiya was embarrassed. That way, they will all know. You shouted so loudly. Do you think they won't know? No flies can fly in here, but it's not soundproof, Gu Lingqing said in a low voice. Baiya felt that she had lost face in the Huangpu River. She lay on the bed, turned her back to him and pretended to be dead. Gu Lingqing glanced at her. There was a sense of pity in his eyes as he sat by the bed. Baiya ignored him and picked at her nails. The people who came are all my confidants. Even if they die, they won't say a word. Don't worry, Gu Lingqing comforted her. I don't think you should force yourself. Baiya negotiated, you're tuning into the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.